Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Zwift Community Live broadcast of the Zwift Racing League. We are into the 2021-2022 Season 1. A little bit of change up in the naming there to get used to, that's for sure. I'm Nathan Guerra, I have Towle next to me. Hot off of the plane, actually, all the way from Belgium in the World Championships over at the Zwift Cafe. Sounds like there was a lot of fun happening over there, Dave. We'll have to get all the stories about that as well. It sounds like you guys did a bunch of recording as well for the World of Zwift, so be on the watch out for some content coming straight from the World Championships. But we are into the team time trial, the first race on Watopia's waistband. For the day, we'll be covering a ton of racing across EMEA. We're going to be jumping in with the men's Middle East, and we'll be jumping in with the Central and West for the women, and we'll be looking at the men's Central as well as West in just a little bit here. So lots and lots going on. 8 divisions across the board for Div 1 today, Dave. First team time trial, we're looking at right away the first impression that I had when I started looking at the teams that we're looking through here and what we're going to be covering, and kind of why we're looking at the A's and the Div 1s is I'm seeing all of those teams that I was like, this is a team on the radar for Premier. This is a team on the radar for Premier over and over again. Div 1A is something that these are the riders who are most likely going to be battling at the end of the season, and will probably be coming back doing a full circle in the playoff times at the end of the season on these same teams.
Well said. I completely agree. I can't wait to see who our community breakthrough teams are this year. There was a lot of talk at Worlds about the WTRL. Actually, I thought it was incredibly cool that this team time trial format has been recognized as so much fun. Nathan, I had at least a dozen folks come up and say, hey, I race in the ZRL or with WTRL, even the WTRL team. It was so cool to have that circle kind of closing. And today, now we have a new season starting, as you said, 2021, 2022. This is season 1 in this new, let's call it a bracketed group of seasons. And some teams come in, Nathan, as you said, with a lot of ambition to move up into Premier, and team time trialing, I'd call it a specialist discipline without any doubt. Some teams are very good at this. Some teams are not. Today's a day to make hay if you know how to team time trial. And, Nathan, on Thursdays, we've had a chance to watch teams really grow over the last few months. I'm going to be excited to see if they can make all that hard work pay off today.
100%. I mean, the idea of whether or not they've grown and what they've been able to get done coming into this race and how well they were able to really get that drivetrain oiled up, whether, that the cohesiveness between the team time trial is going to speak a lot to whether or not they are a team, whether or not they have brought the ethos of what it is to be a team, the reality of how well they work together. This is no better way to do it than the team time trial, that's for sure. We've got lots of points racing as well, 6 points races, 2 team time trials in the community league with 8 races in total. So let's go ahead and jump right on in, though. We're going to go out onto Watopia's waistband and jump in with one of our favorite Magenta Trains, actually, is out here right now hammering away. They're just entering Oceans Boulevard, and it is going to be Team Evo in with the Division 1A for the Middle East here at this point. And what I saw right off the bat here with this team was that they were absolutely flying from the get-go. The numbers that I was seeing out of the pens here from this team, up into the 1,000 watts actually from the initial kicks, getting right up to speed. As you can see, this 50 kilometers per hour marker is going to be a marker to watch out for, I think, at the very top of this Div 1A throughout the rest of the day as we cover into the East EMEA with as well as into the Americas. Watch this common theme that we're going to be saying. What is the speeds that they are holding in these men's divisions all the way through? Because that's going to be really telltale as how these teams are performing. Evo Unicorns currently right now, though, with a 10:30. We're seeing 10:24, 10:10, and 10:09. We'll have to update our little 8-kilometer banner here in just a second. Is it giving us the times a little bit upside down for just a second there, but 10:09 it looks like here for Skylab. WZ Wolfpack coming in second currently. Cryogen Colt de la Loza in there for third, and then it's going to be a 10:30 for the Evo Unicorns right now. Teams to be watching out for as they come through: Cycling Power Speed Freaks. Next Level Racing is out here as well. Just Racing, BL13 and BVR Alpha still to come through that 8K mark. And that Next Level, I think, is a team that is going to be on our radar for sure.
Today's race is really straight ahead. This is a team time trial. This is the specialist division out of WTRL. 28K of racing. It's one lap here. We call this course Watopia's waistband, obviously out here in Watopia, and you get really a great look at what Zwift is all about. So this team Evo that we're looking at is a great example of the Zwift community, to tell you the truth. It's incredibly international. You've got the Dutch rider, Dennis van der Salm, out of the United Kingdom. We have and England, then. We've got Freddie Hick, Greg Shelley, and Paul Dyer. Swiss rider, Michael Schreck, and then Marvin. I mentioned Marvin already. I'm sorry. So Paul, Michael, Marvin, Greg, Freddie, and Dennis. Actually, it is Marvin also, another Dutch rider there. It looks like brothers there with Dennis of the Van der Salm family. So obviously starting with 6 riders is the goal. The time is taken off of your 4th rider across the line. That is critical information. Right now, you can see that they're down to 5 here. Very familiar team. That's going to be up on the front. Dennis van der Salm here, the Dutch rider. But this is not ideal situation right now, as Marvin is going to get back up into the group, but they're little bit right now just finding the rhythm at the midpoint. We've got checks coming in at 8K, 16K, and 22K. Not everyone is through that first checkpoint here. The fastest time looks like it's really close. As Skylab has just come through with a 10:09, 1 second quicker than the World Elite Zwifter Wolfpack team. Now, you're going to hear some of these teams like World Elite Zwifters or Cryogen or Evo have multiple incarnations racing in different divisions out here. It's race 1 of the 2021-2022 Community Zwift Racing season. There's a lot coming at you, I realize, but this is going to be an 8-race season with 2 team time trials. Obviously, we're getting stuck in with a team time trial to start things off, and then we'll be back at Greatest London Flat. I believe it's the 5th week of racing for us, somewhere right there in the middle. But right now, we're looking at Evo here, and they're just past the middle part of the course. I'll throw it back to you, Nathan, as it's great to have this season underway.
We are jumping back over to Cryogen here, as you can see, out on with a 10:24 at the 8 kilometer mark. Solid 43 kilometers per hour as they make their way on into the rest of their Ocean Boulevard, on past the monument, and making the entirety of Watopia's waistband. So they're doing all of the outside flatter sections of the Watopia courses that are out there, kind of strung together to make their way back on over toward the desert flats, actually over at Fuego Flats. They're about to make a catch perhaps in the next few. Well, they're still 32 seconds back, but they have closed down about 30 seconds to the starters ahead of them with Evo. So Cryogen having a solid ride out here. I'm going to go ahead, though, and jump right on in with our Skylab riders, as they are absolutely flying out here today. And this is a team that I would be watching out for with the names that are on here. Caleb Carl is in here, Fitzpatrick, Webster, as well as Ashton. I mean, this is a stacked team, and I'm not surprised one bit they're coming in with the fastest time so far.
It's funny, if you just say Ashton, I think to myself, oh my gosh, did Ashton Lambie change teams? It's a different Ashton, folks, don't worry, as this is going to be Christopher Ashton, the Scottish rider. But Nathan, another rider to watch, and he's going to be a big part of their success out here today. You mentioned Caleb Carl. Wouldn't you say, Nathan, Caleb, one of the most exciting and consistent riders? And he's a great story coming back from a really serious injury a few months ago. So Caleb Carl is not only back and bringing that huge energy that he's got, but this Skylab team, maybe they're the breakthrough team out of this season, Nathan. It looks like the Evo Unicorns have gone through that second check at 16K, 21:06 their time. We'll see how if that moves them up the board, because Skylab, the team that we're in with right now, in the rider Caleb Carl that you're seeing right in the middle with the American flag there, Skylab 10:09. But let's be honest, World Elite Zwifters Wolfpack, they're virtually deadlocked at that last check.
It looks like 2106 coming on in for the Evo Unicorns just now. We'll see if that time's able to stand. You know, a question coming in here at 8K mark. Not a huge amount of time difference. I mean, we're looking at, well, an 8K to be getting a solid 20 seconds is pretty significant, but we'll see if anything does coming back. Anybody went out a little bit too hot out there today. The battle between that WEZ Wolfpack, BL13 Bullets, and Skylab seems to be the thing that is coming to the surface on this day. Wolfpack coming in with the 2017, Cryogen there with the 2033. So we are starting to get a little bit of separation between the teams out here. We'll see what Wolfpack is able to hold on to or not between themselves and Skylab that we're looking at out on course right now. And yes, Caleb Carl, most definitely one of those riders that is becoming iconic in the world of Zwift racing. Part of the reason being that he is one of our top streamers actually over on Twitch, but you can probably watch him live at the moment right now, coming out of the US of A, and had a life-threatening crash, actually, I would say, over the spring as he got back outside. Ran into a pole, I believe, on a very intense descent, and broken some bones. I mean, it was fairly critical. It sounded like, but an amazing recovery and jumping right on into the Zwift racing here and coming back pretty quickly after about a month or two of training, almost at or better than the level that he was at prior to that crash. So absolutely amazing to see here, and the Skylab rider here probably being an amazing asset to these times that they're throwing down, maybe winning here today on this team.
I wouldn't bet against them, Nathan. Boy, is Caleb Carl's story amazing or what? How these athletes recover that quickly is one of the feature things that really separates them from the average human being, no doubt. But there we go, Christopher Ashton. We see this team very, very strong. And Nathan makes a really good point. They are really going to be in the mix. If you beat them, you know you're on an incredible day, that's for sure. So taking a look at the Wolfpack in with the 2017, pretty close there. They've moved past Skylab, Nathan. So they picked up 8 seconds from split 1 to split 2 there when you look at World Elite Zwifters. And again, they're a perennial powerhouse squad. Skylab in a real battle now. Cryogen Col de la Loz is not far back, 2033. So they're in the conversation too, no doubt. There's not a lot of vertical gain on this course, over 28K today, 101 meters. If I move that into old money, that's only 303 feet. Not a lot of climbing, Nathan. It's a pure power course out here today, and a team like Skylab would be well set up for this, no doubt, but obviously so is Wolfpack.
Yeah, Wolfpack here coming back with a solid statement to what Skylab put out up front. So maybe Skylab going out a little bit high, but it was a 1 second difference. They can easily bring back a little bit more of that time actually going into the second half of this race. This is far from said and done, that's for sure. Now, another team I'd be watching out for is going to be the team that is chasing them down. That is going to be BL13 with Gamps on the front. Of course, this Daz Carter, Just is here as well. A lot of very familiar names in the Zwift community. Another one of our top streamers there, going to be Daz Carter as well. Gamps, the house that streams together, Zwifts together here with Gamps as well, coming out of Denmark as his partner is also one of the top racers. I believe in the Premier Division, if I'm not incorrect there. So absolutely awesome to see the new BL13. They developed over the spring and the summer, and now they're making their statement here in the opening race and battling it for a top spot, because 10:17 is not too far back at the last time check. They could come through with a challenging time here for a podium.
I don't know, the Vine family, the Charles Barclay family, or the Gamst family with Luis Gamst, I believe you were referencing there a moment ago, Michael's other half. We've got some real power. Not one of those power couples to me stands out as exceptionally stronger than any of the others. And you just said it, Nathan, a couple that Zwifts together stays together. I think it's pretty fair to say. Daryl Carter, Dave Griffiths, Gareth Eust, Michael Gamst, Peter Weir, and Robbie Britton making up the team. Estonia's flag for Gareth. It's nice to see that blue and black out here. They were well represented at the World Championships as well. So looking at these splits, but that BL13 bullets time, Nathan, it's possible that they could have our fastest time at this next split. This is a tremendously talented team, and they're pinning it out here right now, holding 44 kilometers per hour. You can see all of the data points that you've got to use here. And one of the more advanced ones is you can figure out how to see whether they're picking up time. All of these teams start on a 1-minute interval. So it kind of helps you figure out whether they're tracking down the team in front of them or whether they've got the team behind them closing in. Right now, you certainly wouldn't want to have World Elite Zwifters behind you because they are our fastest team on course right now. Or maybe you would because they'll motivate you to pick it up. And that's going to be a real battle with Skylab, Cryogen, Col de la Loz. And let's see that, okay, BL 13 bullets, Nathan. They come in with a 2013. So actually kind of static there. Not a lot changing at that second check at 16, which is more or less, actually a little more than the halfway point for our teams out here in this opening race, the team time trial for 2021-2022 season 1. Already into it here.
Not surprised one bit. And, the BL13 team, definitely ones I would say is going to rank in that top 3 consistently. I do know that amongst them, Carter being an amazing sprinter, as Carter actually as well as Zust. So this is going to be, I'm wondering for this team if this is a discipline that's like, okay, let's make sure that we're in the running still. Let's make sure that we place, some teams, they've got a certain forte. They've got the thing that is kind of their wheelhouse, right, Dave? And then you get away with what you can in those other disciplines. From what I know of a few of the names on this team, they're going to be looking forward to the points races maybe a little bit more, and that this is like, if we can get a podium here, we are ecstatic because we're going to show up for the other races and dominate as long as what I know their characters to be. So to show up and get a podium at something that might not be your favorite discipline kind of can make you excited for a season-long team event that's looking to rank highly.
Very well said, Nathan. You absolutely set the tone for the season with your performance in this one race. You can't win the season here today, and to be fair, you're probably not going to lose the season either. But the confidence that you have, the team morale, the chemistry, all of those things. A great example are the bullets that we're in with right now. So Michael Gamst will have been with his wife Louise there in Denmark, and she's part of the Heino team. So he has access to the highest level of data an understanding of how the team time trial works. And that certainly is very, very valuable information. If any of these teams, to tell you the truth, Nathan, were to finish outside of the top 3 today, talking about the Skylabs, the Bullets, and Wolfpack, I think they're going to be a little disappointed because you come in here today saying this is where you realize you're not going to pick up a lot of ground, but you don't want to give up any ground, if that makes sense. You want to walk away from, keep your head above water today. That's the name of the game.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Like if you fall back too far on the day today, it's definitely going to put you behind the ball. So, you're not you're not showing up trying to lose, that's for sure. And it is going to give you an idea of where you stand. Go ahead, Dave.
Oh, yeah. Nathan, behind the ball, I really like that because behind the 8 ball really means is that everybody else is 1 shot away from winning. You're now 2 good shots away from winning because you've got to do a setup shot because you're coming from behind, right? Who wants to be coming from behind going into season 2? Not me, not this guy. That's for sure. So, and they're doing a really good job here, Nathan, of making sure, really, boy, it's interesting how much this means to the teams when you look at ZRL. And this first team time trial, because Nathan, you've done a lot of these team time trials now. You realize that things can go haywire pretty quickly. As they always say, it was going great until it wasn't.
Oh, they can get out of control. So if you've ever heard, there might be a couple of recordings of me going a little haywire. Actually, I was of frustration as a part of one of my first or second I mean, to be honest, one of the ZCL live streams was to show how awesome things were, and it was still awesome as far as the team time trialing goes. But the team that showed up, as far as myself and the team, were just not familiar with each other, and so I didn't know what their way of doing things was, and it was so out of control. And I was like, "What is happening?" And next thing I know, I don't even know when to take a poll or not to take a poll, and it was just mayhem. I mean, things can go very, very poorly, very quickly. I mean, if you think about it, you're not riding next to anyone literally. You have to be communicating somehow about who's going to go when, where, and how. And especially with the newer pack dynamics that have been playing out here. This is 2.0 for pack dynamics. We're not to 3.0 yet. Those will be coming down the road. There's been some announcements about that. But still, even on 2.0 at this point, I was having a conversation with one of the athletes that I coach, and we were talking about doing the team time trial in the ZRL this week, actually, and he was really going off about how much things have changed and how specific, how nuanced you have to be about not overtaking the rider in front of you, not pushing them out of the draft, making sure you're taking your turn in a single file line as best as you can. You can watch, and as we go throughout the day here, keep an eye on how the avatars can kind of jostle each other around. And then there's that finessing of just your avatar. Then there's the reality of, like, do you know whose turn it is? And if you don't have those kinds of things all worked out, you're going to end up pushing avatars all over the place and just wasting tons of energy. And when that starts happening, the mental game starts getting there, and you start throwing the cards on the table. You just, okay, whatever. It's just, I don't even know what to do anymore. And being digitally separated, you can't look at your buddy next to you and go, hey, this is what we got. You're like thousands of miles away. So communication in esports is a whole nother level, in my opinion.
A wink, a nod, a little pat on the back. You can't do that, Nathan, right? And those are the little tiny communication things that make such a big difference. That was a very well put statement, Nathan. I completely get where you're coming from. And the riders, to me, that are the next level team time trialists, and we'll see if we have a chance to illustrate this for you, are the gap fillers, right? The riders who are strong enough to be able to sense that there's a split opening, and they put themselves right in there and they fill that gap and they keep the team together. Would you agree with that? I think the gap filler is the highest level move that you make out here in the team.
The gap filler, I would say the gap filler who knows how to finesse their pedals, the rider who knows how to fill that gap, and then the ability to have depth perception. If you can have depth perception in Zwift, that is one thing. Speed to depth perception of the wheel in front of you is so huge in Zwift racing. It's a skill I think a lot of people have not developed very much, mainly because they think it's just a Watts game to speed, and so used to being that 1.0 pack dynamic that kind of just throws all the avatars together, whereas now you have to kind of interact with these bodies a little bit more and not overtake them and know what your Watts are going to do, and you got to feather that controller, which is your pedal stroke.
To be honest, Nathan, that's exactly it. So you have riders who show up who can make massive watts. And you know what they do with them? They waste them all over the place. They go flying by. The gaps. It's incredible when you see what someone who really has Zwiftcraft figured out can do out here with less watts, but more understanding of the gameplay. And that really is subtle, but it's happening right here. You can see this split. NLR, the team that we're with, this is a German squad.
Next level racing team.
Next level racing. Vincent Gazzo is one of the riders here. Alexander Herrer, Christian Bauer, Laurentius, and Stefan Bunschek. And I believe we've been in with Bunschek for a little while there. Now we're in with Sauer here. And or Bauer, actually, his name. I don't know how that ends up as Sauer there. But so this is Christian Bauer that we're in. Sauer Bauer, I guess we could call him. So World Elite Zwifters with the fastest time at 27:58 here. And we're really waiting to see, well, Skylab is letting this gap open up here. Now, how about the BL13 Bullets? Are they going to move into second fastest time at that final check, Nathan, at 22K? Because those teams like Wolfpack, Skylab, Cryogen, Evo, they're all now in the run to the finish line here. It's flat, a little bit of false flat, but then basically just pin it for that last 2K to the finish line here as it's dead flat.
Yeah, and we're going to jump in ahead a little bit here with this Just Racing team, as it's a newer team that not really familiar with, actually. So definitely want to see what's happening with them as they come across this line here, 22.7K in. They're going to start bringing in their times now. They were sitting in with a 20:46 at the last checkpoint. So the Embers toward the front here, Nagel, Lemp, Hun, and Chemnitz. And this is a new team, Just Racing. I'm not familiar with them. And this is what I love about the Zwift Racing League is it brings people out of the woodwork. It brings these new teams to the surface, these new team brands, and they have this opportunity in front of them to show off on the world stage, maybe make their way into Premier Division. And as these new teams come to the surface, you start seeing them on a weekly basis and get an idea of who's going to be dominating and be that presence and making a name for themselves. And I think that's part of the motivation in the Zwift Racing League is you do have a global platform to make a name for yourselves. And if you make it into the playoffs at the end of this Zwift Racing League, that opportunity to get into the Premier Division, it's quite an accomplishment. And I think, you know, keep an eye out, everybody. You start getting these new names out there, or names that have been around for a little while that are look like I would say Skylab's been around for a few seasons at this point, and they're going to be battling it out. I absolutely love to see the progression throughout the season, especially though with a team like Just Racing or this Next Level Racing team, Cycling Power Speed Freaks. These are all teams that I'm now just getting on my radar. And I go, okay, who is this? What they're going to do, and is this going to name that we're going to get hyped about as we get through this season?
BL13 Bullets have moved into second, so that's a major shift here. 28:14 their time through that 22K check. So you can see now they're 4 seconds quicker than Skylab. This is turning into a really interesting race here in the finale, but it's World Elite Zwifters, the Wolfpack Edition, sub 28 at that split. You can see other teams almost up to 31 minutes. So they are having an incredible start to the 2021-2022 season here. 27:58 is your gold standard. 28:14 BL13 Bullets, the second fastest time. Skylab in with the third. It's Cryogen Col de la Loz there with a 28:21. They're only 3 seconds behind Skylab, so that battle for the podium is really starting to hot up out here. 28:40, that's what it takes to be in the top 5 right now. Evo Unicorns 6, because that's JR, Just Racing, sitting in 5th. It's BVR Alpha coming through at that 30:42. So we'll see what NLR's time looks like. That's Next Level Racing and Cycling Power Speed Freaks, as this is it. We're into the last few K. 28 kilometers of racing today for all of our teams as we get stuck into a whole new season. And this is going to be CP Rider. This is Kay Tranberg that we're in with right now. And this is a team that we're excited about bringing online here, as I can't wait to see what these guys are able to do out here this year.
Yeah, 10:47 and a 21:48. Maybe going to be a little ways back here for this newer team, Cycling Power Speed Freaks. Great to see them out there, but they got 5.6 kilometers to go to the finish line at this point. The fastest time with WZ Wolfpack, 27:58. I don't think they're going to be touched across the line, Dave. I really think they've got, I mean, they've really, I think, locked this one up. But the battle is between those Bullets and Skylab, I think, for second place on the podium. Even Cryogen, I think, still, as we wait for the results to come in, an opportunity to take this down.
I would agree. CrowdGen is right there, and they know how to do this. They've put in the hard work. So, Nathan, let me give a shout-out to all the Cycling Power riders here. It's an all-Danish team, and I have a feeling we're going to hear a lot more about these guys. It's Johannes Sorensen, Kasper Tranberg, Kenneth Davidson, Lars Bogeland, Magnus Brinch Larsen, Mikkel Justesen, and you Akbar, making up the team that we're with right now. Again, this is Cycling Power that we're talking about. So, all right, welcome to the big time now. And some of these teams, again, PO Auto comes to mind as one of the best team time trial teams in the history of the discipline here in esports. And let's see if these guys can channel a little bit of that energy. But everybody does have their split time in from the third and final time check out on course here today. So now it's all about the finish line.
Looking through, and it looks like 23.5, the left-hand turn about to be taken by this final team to come on through. We are in with the women's as well for the WTRL Women's EMEA. We'll be in with Women's Central and the Women's West Div 1A. They are just about to take off out of the pens, and it looks like an absolutely packed pen. We'll head over there in just a moment to give everybody an idea of what that looks like as Cycling Power, though. This Danish team, which is kind of cool to see. This reminds me of, I wonder if there's any riders that came over from Fusion to jump onto the Cycling Power team, as this is definitely the Danes always extremely strong, amazing cycling community, that's for sure. And always on my radar whenever I see a group of Danish flags all together like that, because they've been so extremely passionate about the world of Zwift racing.
Yeah, it seems like Denmark, pound for pound, ounce for ounce, has got to be one of our all-time top countries. Sweden comes to mind, so a lot of that Northern Europe, and I really can see why as well. It's interesting when you're at Worlds, Nathan, where you see the groups of different nationalities, whether it's the Swiss or but the Danish guys, they all look so fit. The Dutch guys too, to tell you the truth. But not only do they love cycling, but they not only love watching it, they love doing it. And this is going to be, again, Casper that we're in with here. Boy, they look very, very well organized. But it's going to be really hard to beat the World Elite Zwifters today. They have a huge advantage. No reason to expect them to falter either. I have a feeling the Wolfpack is absolutely going to live up to their name and take a gold medal here to start this season off. Speaking of people to meet at Worlds as well, Riders Without Borders, Nathan, what a great group of folks we have there, our Irish friends. I'm sure we're going to be hearing a lot from them throughout the upcoming races, so big welcome to everybody with RWB. Keep up the pressure there in Ireland.
Did you actually meet some of the RWB? Is that what you're saying? Yeah?
Yeah.
You got any name drops or anybody out there? I want to know about who's coming from the RWB. They went all the way to Belgium just to see Mr. Dave Towle and say hello.
I don't know that they went to see Dave Towle per se, but I do know that they went to have fun. And man, I mean, Nathan, you've never seen anything like the party that it was there. And you just couldn't turn around without running into another Zwifter. Part of it was being at the Zwift house as well, which was a real magnet for all of our friends. And, OJ Borge was there from World of Zwift. And let me just tell you, Nathan, your name came up every 15 minutes with your fans wondering if you were there. We had a good laugh because we were at one point going to start pretending that you were there and that you just weren't with us at the moment. And
Fine, Nathan, is it Where's Waldo? Like a Where's Waldo situation?
Absolutely a Where's. I honestly had at least 20 people asking me where you were. So that's just a good sign because your reputation precedes you in a super positive way. So this is going to be next level racing, Nathan. They are digging deep. You've done this. You know, this looks so smooth and so fun. It really
They're actually doing an amazing job here now. They really are.
To 190
beats per minute, though. Look at this. This is
my gosh. Yikes. This really hurts. You are scraping the bottom of the barrel right now. They're going to put 5 riders across the line. I know I mentioned it earlier, but your 4th rider is where you take your time. So they have no problem at all with that. They actually can lose 1 rider, and they should. This is I hate to say it, Nathan, but it's a good sign to drop a rider in the last 500 meters as long as you've got 4 left to finish. That means that rider gave their all. Does that make sense?
Absolutely flying. Oh, 100% it makes sense. 8.3 watts per kilogram, 181 beats per minute right now, and everything you got to the line. The most suffering you'll ever do in a Zwift race most likely is the team time trials. You don't want to let them down. Look at this now to the line. 37.10, a little about under 37.15. As NLR make their way to the line. Cycling Power with only 4 left, it looks like, as it's going to be Bugland to make his way to the front. Tranberg as well. Sorensen, they're going to be the last ones amongst the men. I did just see NZ Bro Team Aragorn, which I absolutely love that they're using Lord of the Rings names for their teams. They know how to keep things exciting and get my attention, that's for sure. So NZ Bro from the women's side of things just taking off. We'll jump over there for the women in just a moment to see how they are getting out on course. NZ Bro, they are definitely a team that made a huge splash in the classics, and I think they're going to show up in a huge way in these races here in race number 1. But we're talking about Cycling Power Speed Freaks, the last team to come across the line as we're waiting for these splits to finish up, and then we'll get some results going. As we get into the women's race, and we'll start bringing the results up as we're waiting for them to update in the back-end data for just a moment here. But Sorensen looks like he's going to be leading this Danish team out to the finish line.
Cycling Power is a test center for cyclists in Denmark. And this, I would imagine that some of them are in the test center racing. I would hope that they are, as this is going to be Casper that we're in with now. But this Danish team, Nathan, they got to feel good about their introductory race here for 2021-2022 season 1. Somehow we've got to rename that. There's the finish line. Doesn't it seem like it's going to be hard to say that for the next 4 months?
Well, it's I mean, it's definitely an interesting. It's there. That's a good.
There's just so much racing.
There's tons and tons. It's a good point, Dave. It's a good point. But I think we get used to it eventually. I think almost there is also a part of you that likes to like be in the know about it. I don't know if that if that
I
makes
agree.
sense. So
you know how we'll really know, Nathan, is when we have a shorthand for that, and it's going to be something like 2021 22 1. I feel like I'm writing code now at this point, which is not why I'm here. So let's bring. So Nathan, NZ Bro, this team is fantastic. I loved your comments. I couldn't agree more. This might be our breakthrough team here in 2021-2022 season 1. They're out of New Zealand. They've got the Anna Russell seal of approval. As far as I know, they do.
Isn't that it? Like on their kit? Isn't there like a little Anna Russell whiteboard on the back of their kit? I don't know. I think they missed it. Okay,
I think I see it.
Northampton Cycling Club is what they're using, though. I don't know anything about the Northampton Cycling Club. We need some of our land down under. We need Kate and Anna to inform us. Or chat, let us know what's up with the Northampton, Cycling Club. As obviously it has something to do with New Zealand. I'd be really surprised if it did not. But I'm liking the colors, and I'm liking that they're really well matched, except for their bikes and their gloves, actually. So they would get a little bit of their home country slap on the hand from Anna Russell, I think, with a little bit of the organization that's going on here. But they are the first ones to get out on course. It is going to be Ed Zed and Bro. They'll be the first ones to come through that 8-kilometer mark, and this is going to be in with the women's EMEA Div 1A. You can always see what we're covering in the upper left-hand corner of the split times for everybody that is watching on screen there. SZ, Team Swedish Swifters, Sin, followed up by Coalition Synergy and Bristol Flyers are going to be the next ones that get out on course. I did see Socks for Watts are in here as well. As they do get out on course, this list will start updating, and we'll start seeing what these times are as we get into the 8-kilometer mark. We'll get the results for what we just watched with the men's Div 1A in just a moment.
There is so much going on. I wasn't joking when I was saying that. So we'll have to check in with Martin up in Calgary. Martin at the world headquarters for WTRL, the man behind the scenes, the mastermind. Big thank you to Martin and Steven. I guess we should start there for all of their hard work to get this season prepared, as I know so many people love this. Now, I don't want to speak out of school, but I would find it hard to imagine that we don't have record number of racers. And so what Nathan was talking about there, when you look at the split times box, you can see it says women's EMEA. That EMEA stands for Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Now, the C Division 1A, this is where you really start to get a feel for the scope of the number of races that we have out here. It's into, over 10,000, certainly. We race around the globe. We're working our way through the European divisions right now, and then we'll move into the Americas East and then Americas West to wrap up the day. Racing started many hours ago. Was I'm guessing that you're actually with Kate Bates, who absolutely love and adore, as I do Anna Russell. But has Anna had her child yet?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So Anna's taking 2
So
weeks off, a little bit of maternity leave from the broadcast, and she'll be in with us going into week number 3, actually. So
that's
absolutely
incredible.
awesome.
That Yeah, anybody else would take a lot more than 2 weeks. Anna Russell, Nathan, she shows the same level of dedication, love, and passion for this as you do. She's an incredible person. And again, 2 weeks, that's incredible. That's all she needs or wants, to tell you the truth. You know why? Because she loves doing this and she wants to be back doing it. It's
Oh, yeah,
actually
she's
selfish of
absolutely
her.
hyped. She's so incredibly hyped about racing in Zwift, and
Yeah.
we wouldn't have the fashion police in any way whatsoever, or
Whiteboard.
the whiteboard without Anna Russell. And big congratulations to the
Congratulations,
family, and
Anna.
cannot wait
Yeah.
to have her back out here. But that's definitely well earned, obviously, and amazing to have her a part of the team here, and so incredibly committed to the world of Zwift racing. I think everybody sees her as an icon now at this point amongst
Yeah.
the community, which is great to see.
I do, for sure. As I do Kate Bates as well. Kate is one of my favorite people to work with, Nathan. I mean, she's just amazing. World Championships are going to Australia next year. And I am really hoping that we get to go work with Kate live and in person. We'll see how that all works out. It's a very Australian sounding name, isn't it? But these are New Zealanders. Trewoon is the rider we're with, but this is NZ Bro that we've got on screen right now. Let's take a moment then to shout out the squad. This is going to be Marcel Smithers, Holly Fletcher, Heather Neal, Danielle Trewoon, and Colette Gascon Spittle, along with Oliver, making up the ends. They're very well organized. They've been, Nathan, wouldn't you say, over the last 2 months, I don't know of a team that has done more to prepare themselves for the ZRL. They showed up with.
There might be a little bit to do with the weather too, but there is a reality that yes, this definitely. I mean, because they've been in their winter, down in New Zealand and Australia, so maybe a little bit more of their indoor season.
It helped.
So that it did help them,
right.
but man, they have shown up week in and week out in the classics as well as the WTRL TTT, and they have been absolutely dominating. Anna has also been doing some of these like top secret rides with them. So they've been getting a little bit of extra coaching from one of the top minds of Zwift racing as well. So NZ Bro coming out of New Zealand, they have been doing their homework, and we're going to find out because the test is starting right now. And I think I have a feeling we're going to see a couple of AA plus results out here from them, though, for sure, as we get into this throughout the rest of the day. I would not be surprised one bit if NZ Bro is on the lips of all the commentators by the end of the day.
I mean, listen, we have changed the way after 50 plus years of saying Z, I now say Z because of this team. That's the impact. They're changing my alphabet. That's the impact that they're having. I mean, it's just incredible. And you know what? Good luck to them. More power to you, ladies. So, but to be fair, Nathan, look at this group that we've got, the Roca Corba team. Now, that's one of the great climbs in the world. And Roca Corba here is going to be in the mix. KST. We'll be looking at splits. Let me just reset the table very quickly. I feel like we're a restaurant, Nathan, and we've just served one meal to a group, but now we've got a whole new wave of people coming in because this is now the women racing in Europe, Middle East, and Africa Central, but it's all the same as far as the course goes. It's Watopia's waistband. Watopia is the original Zwift world, and we spend a lot of time racing here, and we love it. Now, NZ Bro is the team that we're with. They're 7.4K into it. Boy, they're flying. You can see their speed has been hovering around 44 to 45K per hour. 28K. You start with a maximum of 6, and that's exactly what we've got on screen here right now. Don't do much better than this, Nathan, as far as a start goes. We're going to have a split time for these ladies pretty quickly here, but here's a really good example of how you want to roll out through that first check. 6 riders together. Looks like they're swapping off poles quite nicely, putting on a bit of a clinic right now in how to team time trial here. And again, this is going to be the team out of New Zealand, NZ Bro. wow, watch out for a great time from them today.
See GS now making way to the front. You did just see the pull off the front there from Treewoon, and the overtake at 4 watts per kilogram here coming from CGS. Now we do see a little bit of extra power though coming from the rider behind Neil. I'm not sure it was Neil's turn just yet, so that was a little bit much to be given there. And now you do see CGS having to fight for that front wheel, and that's not really what you want to see. That's what we were talking about earlier. If we're talking about how to play the pack dynamics well, we did see that Neil did overtake a little bit too much there because of a little bit of panic in the power. That's where maybe even I might even use that from now on. Panic in the power to close things down. Backing off now, being overtaken by some of the other riders. I have a feeling that it's Neil's turn next. So the feathering and figuring out exactly where you're now. See 4.6. That better be her overtake now at this point. I think it is, as there was a wait, and now she's going to go to the front. Use that speed, not slow down again and slow everybody else down. Now GS needs to go directly to the back. And then, as you do see the rider here, it is Smithers' responsibility to not overtake Neil and just get right on that wheel, and did it just absolutely perfectly. There's a good feathering. The rest of the team needs to do the same. They're getting a little bit bunched up behind. More of a straight line is what they need to see, so everybody's getting the rest that they need. As you see her being pushed off the wheel, actually, by GS. Do you see how the avatars are fighting for that front wheel? That's not what you want to see. You want to see a straight line so that fighting does not happen, but they are keeping things organized, at least with the rider who's supposed to be on the front, at the front, as it is going to now be, I believe, Fletcher, who's going to be taking over at the front. No, 5.6, though, here coming in from Smithers. So I think Smithers saying, no, it's actually my turn. And I think they're going to figure this out now, as Smithers is going to throw down a solid amount of speed that's going to really allow this to string out a little bit.
Look, if it's absolutely perfect, you're in a straight line with just centimeters between each rider. A blob scenario is not bad. You're doing much better than when you have the big splits happening in your team. So it's kind of like, yeah, Nathan, as you said, you want to grade this? Well, straight line, perfect. A blob, not too bad. You're still together and you're moving at a high speed. It's when they start fracturing the team and you have those splits that it gets really, really ugly. So this is maybe not an A+ ride, but we're looking at a solid A right now for the NZ Pro Aragorn team. We'll start getting some splits. It'll update for us here, and I think we'll bring a bunch of these times in for you to look at how everyone is doing to compare and contrast against each other out here.
Yeah, we'll get splits here in just a moment. 9.9 kilometers into the racing. Now, we also do have the men's race just getting out on course here for the Central. I believe it's going to be in with Central. Yeah, Div 1A Men Central taking off actually just now. And I actually see some pretty big names in there as well. ART WLC, the Wahoo Lacole team. Team Netherlands is out here. Backpedal is going to be in and amongst this crew as well. Zwift España. LGPCIM. I mean, there's some pretty big names in here as well. I think I just saw Team SZ actually take off over in that men's race. So we'll jump over there in just a moment. We'll follow both of these races as they make their way around the course here. And it is going to be pretty interesting to see how this ends up playing out, because I have a feeling that Central for Europe, and across the board, Dave, the Europeans, they're almost always the ones to be watching out for. This middle of the day for us here in the US, these were the times to beat. These were the places where we saw a lot of the teams that were going to be the top teams in the Premier Division, or riders who are going to come through in the playoffs. This was the place that you need to be watching out for, is this Central, or perhaps moving over to the West as well. So, this is really what I'm watching for some of our top performances on the day.
Couldn't agree more. As a matter of fact, traditionally, I would expect that to remain true. You do have your outliers, right? I think Next would be a team that wasn't, well, actually, though, Next did race in Europe, didn't they? Now that I think about it, even though most of the riders on that team are coming out of North America, they opted for a European time slot, if I remember correctly, but which even proves your point more, Nathan, for sure. However, the one real exception is our riders coming from down under, Australia, New Zealand, we see that in WTRL, don't we? Where the time zone 1 is very comparable to the Platinum League, just because the way the timing works out with the global racing situation. And this is one of the teams that comes out of that world. They're having a great ride right now. So
Yeah,
you
let's
can
go
see the other.
real quickly, Dave. We do have results just starting to come in, it looks like, from our race.
While we're waiting for
updating here.
splits, let's go ahead and take a look at that, and we'll start getting some splits up for you out here. I see
Okay.
people anxiously waiting.
Yeah, people are waiting for those. I'm going to jump over real quickly to the start of our Central, and then we'll get a look here in just a moment at those. But Central is getting out on course as well. As you can see, SRT jumping out. ART are out there as well. I know there's a lot of people in chat wondering about this race. I'm seeing those questions about what's going to be coming on through for them. We will be jumping in with them in just a moment as well. We are waiting for these splits to come on through for the race here as well in the women's EMEA Central as well.
And
here.
as we get
Okay.
those, the SR. Oh, I see. We're back with NZ Bro now here as they're moving to the middle part of the course here. So they'll be coming up on that second check. But this is really where you establish the quality of your performance out here today. Having a good start is critical, but this is where you're either going to win or lose the race, I would say. The run into the finish line, there's not much climbing on the course today. So either you've got it or you don't at this point. And this is a team that clearly has it. Check that box for NZ Bro here. As they look at the speed right now, they're on completely flat ground as they go under the Aqua Tunnel here, almost 13K in, and they are motoring at nearly 50 kilometers per hour. So this looks like this should be a benchmark time coming out of our European, Middle East, and Africa Division A women.
Yeah, it's solid time, 18:17 so far at that 13-kilometer mark. As we wait for things to come on through, we'll start moving our way back through the rest of the pack. It does look like we're getting a little bit of a gap open up here. Let's go ahead and go back to Team SZ, though, as Rundqvist, Ridden, Engstrom, as well as Asa, all coming on through. I wonder if that's actually the name of the rider. We'll see if I can find it here, as I know exactly what that Strong Healer.
So
if that's what
it's a Fast Bergland. Is that?
Yeah.
Yep.
That has to be what it is.
Right. So Berglund is a Swedish name that rings true. Marianne Berglund was the world champion of cycling back, I believe it was 1982 on the road. And she was one of the 50 world champions that they honored at the 100th world champion. There were 50 world road champions, Nathan, at a dinner that they had one night there. And yeah, Marianne Berglund was one of them. So this is Fast Berglund that we're talking about now on the Swedish Swifters. Cornella Engström, Louise Rundqvist, Marie Rind, and Sarah Lundlund making up the team. Swedes have always been talented out here. There's no doubt. I'd expect a solid ride coming in from the Swedish nation today. They're one of the countries, you can see the New Zealand flag up there for NZ Bro. Some teams are incredibly international. Other teams really focus on riders from their own country. You can do it either way. We love having it all, to tell you the truth. There's always interesting stories as to how the teams come together, whether the folks know each other in real life or they've just met online through Zwift or a combination of the two. It's really, really interesting to see how this all happens. This is Asa that we're with right now, although I don't like seeing 3. Oh, there we go. It's always better with at least 4 on the screen.
Yeah, for just barely, though, it looks like it's Ridne is dropping off just a moment here. We do have the results in, it looks like. Here we go for the men's Middle East. Let's go ahead and take a look at how that ended up playing out here today, and we will go across all of the categories for you. It does look like WAZ Wolfpack take it down. Look at that average watts per kilometer, 5.23 watts per kilometer with a 35.01. That's setting the benchmark for us today. Skylab 31 seconds back, so WZ Wolfpack really pulled away at the back end of the race. It was only about a 1 second, little more than that difference between Skylab and BL13. Just Racing comes in for 4th, and then it's going to be the Evo Unicorns in for 5th. Next Level Racing in for 6th place, then it's going to be Cryogen, really falling back actually because they were in a top spot. They were on the podium, I think, ahead of BL13 when they were in with that second checkpoint, but then I think they started falling backwards in with to third and fourth, and then obviously across the line for the results. Cycling Power Speed Freaks followed up by BVR Alpha.
Look at Just Racing there with sub 4 watts per kilo average, yet fourth place. They were incredibly efficient. So there's so much data point information that you can look at here. And Nathan, again, Skylab, nice job. Way to really dig in and reclaim the silver medal. That was one heck of a race out there for our Division 1A men. Mixed, I should say.
Looks like we're waiting in maybe for some of the results to come on in. We'll leave these alone here for the Bs. It looks like as some of the times here still needing to, well, perhaps those are going to be correct there and the times just aren't loaded in, it looks like. So we're going to go ahead with this then, perhaps.
All right.
I'm going to wait before we read this out. I'm going to get confirmation about what's happening here with those before we actually jump on it. I don't want to make any mistakes or say anything unofficially there.
The reason I'd say wait is the bottom team was only 5 seconds back, according to that.
Yeah, I saw
so
that.
I
Yeah, I
needs to
saw that
reshuffle.
too.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it needs to reshuffle a little bit. I have to agree with that 100%. But that was the situation with the race that we did just watch. WEZ did end up taking it down out there today. So the Wolfpack 3501. 3501, stick that number in your heads for the rest of the day. We'll get an idea of what happened earlier in the day. We'll get an idea of how that plays out through the rest of these zones for EMEA, as well as America's East and the America's West. Lots of racing yet to come for the rest of the day here as we're still in with Team SZ. Coalition Synergy here, it looks like 14 seconds back, E. Dixon. 14 seconds back for the split. They've lost that amount of time to Team SZ, which is ahead of him here. That went out right before. Bristol Flyers as well with Russell. And then it's going to be KST here now chasing them out of Denmark. Another all-Danish team with only 4 riders, though, on the day. It's going to make it a little bit of a struggle. Dave, speak to this. The reality of only having those 4 riders versus 6 riders, that's a full minute of rest you are not getting through the pole rotation.
I think it's mental more than, it's mental and actual, because Nathan, it's almost like starting a time trial on what you would perceive as inferior equipment as well, right? Where you're psychologically feeling like, we were talking about being behind the 8 ball. Well, same thing starting with 4. You're at a competitive disadvantage. You're going to have to do more work to hold the same speed as the other teams. That nobody wants that situation, but a really well-drilled, talented group of 4, it's not impossible. And as we said earlier, you don't have to win this race to have a successful day. You just don't want to have a disaster out here as we start what's going to be an 8-race season. 2 team time trials, 6 points races, just think standard bike race. So it's really today more like just don't make a big mistake out here. We don't need to go for the gold. We just don't want to end up in the dumpster.
We need to keep that one around. We need to keep that's one of the best ones. Yeah, right there. Don't need to go. Just don't end up in the dumpster. No dumpster fires, okay, everybody? No dumpster fires out there today.
So, Nathan, this is KST that you're in with, another all-Danish team. It's Anne Rasmussen, Camilla Sogard, Heidi Walter. And you know what? I have learned through pronunciations that it's Camilla Sogod, I believe, Heidi Walther, Maya Gray, and Maria Thompson making up the KST team. I'm excited to have them out here.
Yeah, this is really great with this KST team, Danish team, making their way around on course as well. Keep on moving our way on through, though, as Roca Cobra Cycling. It's a familiar name coming in from the WTRL TTT. I've seen them a couple of times. And it looks like S. Child, though. A visitor on this team from Sox for Watts, maybe jumping over as S. Child. That's a familiar name. I'm seeing S4W there, obviously, a part of that team. So good to see this little bit of a pickup here for Roca Cobra as the South African, though, leading things out. That's going to be Jay Cass at 4.2 watts per kilogram, 41 kilometers per hour through this section as they enter their about halfway point on Oceans Boulevard. And they're going to make their way on over toward the marina in just a moment.
The Roca Corba is without doubt one of the most infamous and challenging climbs in Girona, which is where almost all of the not all, but a lot of the Americans that race in Europe use Girona, Spain as their base there. It's a 10-kilometer climb with an average of 10%. But we see a fair number of teams like to use the famous climbs from around the world, like Alpe d'Huez, another good example, for their team name. So that certainly works.
And as we wait, still waiting for a couple of splits to come on through here. We'll keep on moving our way through, and it's going to be the Betty squad. One of the teams that I absolutely love their in-game kit. One of the coolest kits in-game for sure, as it is going to be a Betty squad, follow with it looks like all these riders actually a couple of them actually with the same, just saying they're the Betty squad. They don't even need a name, they are just the team. That's how in with each other they are, how in tune with each other as well. Temporally though, we are definitely looking at here, all coming out of the US of A right now, 13 kilometers into the race, traveling along about 37 kilometers per hour. As we looked at the left-hand turn taken here, this is going to be telling we see 36 kilometers per hour. We saw from Roca Cobra 41 kilometers per hour at this exact same spot. That's a little bit telling about how the speeds are going and how this team is getting along. But with only 3 riders, that's half the firepower, half the rest time. Very difficult day for Betty squad.
And you don't get a time with 3 riders, right? So all you're doing is avoiding taking the no-show negative point that you would get. If your team doesn't make it to the race, you actually are penalized. If your team starts but doesn't finish with the quantity of riders necessary to get a time, at least you don't lose that 1 point. So unfortunately, this is a sub-ideal situation for Betty squad with only 3 right now. Now, if they do have a 4th rider out here, they'll get that time, and that will help significantly, actually. I don't know if they have a 4th or not on course.
It's a good question. We'll have to wait and see where things stand for them at the end of the race, or if we can see them out on course. Still with 6 though. NZ Bro here with Smithers, and we're starting to just get the splits coming in, and they are not disappointing. Team Aragorn here flying, as you can see, 23-24. But it was Team SZ initially with a faster time of 11:45 at the 8 kilometer mark as we start to get these splits to come in. 23-24, 23-29, 23-48 from Coalition Synergy. Bristol Flyers with a 24-37. So the battle is really up there in those top 3 right now with Coalition Synergy, Swedish Swifter Sin, and NZ Bro Aragorn battling it out for the podium right now in the Women's Central Div 1A.
This is a great example, though, Nathan. It is not over as we watch Skylab come back. They were in second. They went down to third. They came back to take second. So we'll watch closely to see how things go out here. NZ Bro Aragorn with that 23-24. That's the gold standard. But it's the Swedish Swifting Sin team right there. Not far off the pace is Coalition Synergy. As we take a look at that Coalition team, again, they've got the Canadian Amanda Argue on the squad. She's a talent that I'm looking forward to seeing out here. Emma Dixon, Hannah Johansson, and the Polish rider Joanna Borowick on Coalition. So that's a strong team. Let's see. So they're sitting in third right now at the 23-48. 24-37 is what the Bristol Flyers have put up. That's at 16K, 8 kilometers, 16 kilometer, and 22K checks over the 28 kilometers of racing. It's not dish pan flat, but it is pretty much a power riders course. As a matter of fact, not pretty much. It is a power riders course out here today, Nathan.
It really is. It really is a power riders course. There's not, I mean, the only sections you're talking about is leaving the Fuego Flats, heading towards Titans Road, left-hand turn. Then you are talking a little bit through this volcano section. Outside of that, you got the climb heading into Fuego Flats, which is a 1 to 2%er. That one actually really, really hurts because you hit some dirt right there. That's about it. Oceans Boulevard, Titans Grove, the little S-turn leaving Oceans Boulevard, but those, again, are all very short and not very steep sections at all. I'm actually seeing Kim Little hanging out in the chat former UK national champion of Zwift, saying hello to the man who rides at elevation, Adam Zimmerman. It's always these guys in their little comments here coming on through. Absolutely loving the classic esports riders making their little debuts in chat. Of course, as these times do start to come in, we do have some times across over at the Central for the men's as well. Let's go ahead and jump on over to that racing and see how things are playing out, because this is a top, definitely some of the top squads that we're going to be thinking about, I think, for the duration of the season. As they make their way into Oceans Boulevard, we are in with the SRT team. And as we take a look at the times here, how are SRT doing here? We got Gran Fondo Timbe there, Adam Racing Photons 1020 there. Wahoo Laco A1 with a 1023. What I want to know is Ed Laverick in that Wahoo Laco A1.
Oh, is he?
I want to know. I don't know. I'm not saying he is.
I'm
but
going to guess.
Why wouldn't he be on the top team is what I'm wondering. Or is he with Backpedal, or where is? Or is Laverick not racing in Zwift Racing League this season? So that's the question for me.
Well, there's a lot going on. It's like a three-ring circus, isn't it, Nathan? You've got the lions over here. You've got the clowns juggling over there. The high wire act is going on. It is just bananas right now in the ZRL world. Welcome, everyone, to 21-22 Season 1 here as we move into our second major batch of racing in the ZRL. This is the SRT team. So you can see that now on course, we've got our women in the EMEA, that's Europe, Middle East, and Africa, the Division 1 women out of the Central, that's what the C stands for, and then now this is our mixed, which is, and again, SRT. So this is a really, really strong group of riders, no question. When you look at the strength of this field, it is just out of control. And I'm jumping back and forth now as we take a look at SRT. And you can see how they're using the designation, the numeric designation for their riders as they sort out their order. And they look pretty well organized, Nathan.
Yeah, and Christoph at the front here, 6.3 watts per kilogram. It's a solid kick here as they make their way through the dirt section. One thing to be aware of for those that might just be tuning in to figure out how to race out here today and the way that you do a team time trial on this course, the dirt sections definitely make it more difficult for others to hold on to your wheel. The drafting algorithm does become a little bit more difficult because the dirt does slow everyone down. So as you head through sections like dirt or cobbles, it can become a little bit more difficult for the avatars to keep the speed they're currently holding, and it does feel a little bit more difficult to hold on to that wheel in front of you. So big kicks like that do force other riders to have to up their watts per kilogram, maybe a little bit more than they were expecting through those sections. Just something to be aware of as to why things tend to get a little bit more out of control through these sections. You'll start to notice that as one rider does drop off, as you can see here, from the SRT team. I think that's going to be too Smalley, or we're looking at Gutierrez actually trying to get back on terms. I'm actually surprised that they're waiting for Gutierrez at 180 beats per minute, 4.9. I think he's in the suffer bus at this point. I'm not sure he's going to have a lot to add in the second half of this course as he's falling off right here. And at the front, you've got the reality of Wood and Tret trying to pull a solid 7. But maybe Gutierrez does have more left in the tank that I'm wondering here. Now he backs up, now up to 5.1. That's quite a kick, making his way right on through. Now we're going to be looking for that rest.
Something happened there because I think they were wise to wait, to tell you the truth, because he looks really strong. He must have had a little bit of a glitch. I tell you what, one thing I learned in Belgium, Nathan, is that 80s rock is still alive and well, believe me. And one of the songs that came to mind a lot was The Clash, Should I Stay or Should I Go? And that's exactly what the team is dealing with. Do we wait or not? In this case, it looks like they did. And boy, that was an interesting example of what you were talking about an hour ago so he burned some watts he didn't need to burn as well. You could say he went right to the front of the group and right to the back of the group. So Gutierrez right now is in the hurt locker. No question. Let's see if we can close this gap. Now after watching that, Nathan, I would say we don't wait again.
Yeah, I mean, if he's off the back twice, 3 times, I mean, at this point, there's just no reason whatsoever. Yeah. And then to head to the front and even slow the whole pack down from heading to the front from the overshoot there. So that can make things really difficult on the team. You don't ever want to see that kind of a situation. So
it's like the guy you were waiting for. the guy you were waiting for is now half wheeling you, and then you're waiting again. So it's tough. It is so tough, to tell you the truth. This is not a personal criticism. It's actually just highlighting how hard it is to do. Like when you see these teams perfectly lined out like a flock of geese flying to Canada, Nathan, they have done so much work to get to the point to be able to do that. You don't just show up at this level and end up perfect. It takes a ton of refining your skills. This is going to be Almeida that we're in with now. Let's take a look. So Gran Fondo Team BE, which would be Team Belgium. I would not want to do a Gran Fondo with these guys. They're the kind of dudes that just absolutely kill it, right? You would, Nathan. You would love it. 2011 is their time at that first check. Now, that's 9 seconds. That's a really good indicator that they're on an incredible day. ART Photons, Atom Racing Team Photons, at 10:20. They're only 9 seconds back and then very close to Wahoo Lecole. And I'm actually still wondering the answer to your question about who is on this Wahoo Lecole team. And rather than keep folks wondering, I can tell you that it is Brian Oostra, the Dutch rider. Joel Klinenberg from Canada. Out of the United Kingdom is Matt Brook. Quinten Moulniers is the Belgian on this team. And then Rich Askew and Tony Cope are the two other riders from the United Kingdom. So no Laverick.
These guys are looking solid in their kits, though. Look at this setup.
That's one of the best looking kits in the game. One of the best.
And they're pretty experienced as well. They're hanging out on the Cervelo S5 2020 with the DT Swiss wheels. That's a lot of drops to be throwing down for those bikes. Some expensive equipment with some pretty nice looking kits out here as well. And they've dressed up definitely looking to kill out here today. Askew, I think Askew's the only rider here that's in with the Canyon and the Zip not deep dish DT Swisses here at this point. So, well, actually, there might be one other rider here on the team with just a Tron, but that's the current situation here with this team. We're going to go ahead and jump back in with our women as they are just about to finish up here with NZ Bro, making their way to the line right now. They've had a solid ride. 38:38 right now is the time that's coming in as we wait for the rest of the splits to come through and the results. It looks like NZ Bro, we're sitting at the top here at the second checkpoint with a 23:24, but it was a battle. And we don't have the splits coming in just yet for the next sections, but
wow.
You know, it's an 8 second. We can see it though on the right hand side though. 8 seconds is the difference, so it's going to come right down to it. If Engstrom and the rest here can chase this down in the final K, this could still be done.
They've run out of real estate, to tell you the truth. This looks incredibly good for
slowing
NZ
down
Bro.
though. Look,
They have to
4-4.
They have to make up 4.5 seconds per K to win. That's a lot. That is a lot.
But Engstrom is pulling 5-5 on the front right now. At the same, right? 43. Yeah, you're right, though. You're right. They are splitting. So
there's almost no chance that NZ Bro gets beat here, in my opinion. They're in great shape. We'll see. That's why we make them race to the finish, right? But it's actually going
on the
other
front,
direction.
4.46 kilometers per hour. I think you're right, though. Ace has slowed things right on down at the front here. You know, it can't just be one rider.
I like your attitude, though. Never give up.
Well, if there was consistency with Engstrom on the front at 6 watts per kilogram, then it was doable. Now we're 1.5, though. I just don't think that's possible, though. I think you're right there, Dave. That's going to be the situation. 10 seconds is just a lot to make up in less than a K.
They're going slower right now than NZ Bro was through this point. So that question's
100%.
been answered. There's no chance that they
100%.
So good effort, though. And when you talk about it, you know, you talk about the battle and the war. Well, they're still in the war in good shape. They just don't quite win this battle. You could almost call it a draw, though, because the point differential that they'll have going into the second race of this season won't be. It's basically a wash, if you will. So they can be really, really happy with their performance out here. NZ Bro, that really does confirm all of the hard work that they've been doing. I would have to say, Nathan. They earned this one. They didn't just show up and hope for good luck. They prepared themselves. And I've heard the saying before, and I love it. Luck is when preparation meets opportunity. That's exactly what happened today for NZ Bro.
Engstrom, last little kick to the line for SZ. Thin as they make their way across here. We're going to move our way back to the Canyon Coalition team. This is the Canyon Dev team. Great to see them out here. And I love what Canyon has done. There was a great podcast I listened to recently here with Reese Howell on it and what he has done. Really a believer in esports. And there's a reason why the Canyon team has won on the men's side of things each and every season so far, undefeated. And amazing job. And now this is where they are looking to pull athletes from, is these development teams. Draper, Bowerwick, it's going to be Argue, as well as Dixon making their way to the line. They were sitting in third place at the last checkpoint. 23:48 was the last checkpoint we got in through for the times. And we'll see how this ends up playing out. But I think we're going to hold on to that because I'm looking behind, and the Bristol Flyers are a solid 41 seconds back at this point.
So Canyon Dev, that's Philippa Draper, if my memory serves me correctly.
I'm seeing a P at
the
front.
There we go.
I'm assuming that's going to be correct.
That is Philippa. It is Philippa Draper for sure. I'm not seeing their time right here. Am I missing that? I apologize.
23:48 Coalition Synergy is what I think they're calling themselves.
Oh, that would explain it. There you go. Coalition Synergy with that 23:48.
So the Canyon Coalition team, the coalition with the community, the dev. Yeah, it's synonymous with the dev team. Correct.
Perfect. All right. So they are into, there's the finish arch right there set up underneath the natural arch. I feel like we're in Zion right now. And that's not your time, but the riders right behind her will pick up our time for Canyon Dev, or I should say Coalition Synergy.
Bristol
We're going to
Flyers.
start getting fit.
Next one's coming to the line here, 24:17. And then it will be the Roca Cobra as well as KST. KST with, I think, getting a little bit mixed up with Roca Cobra at this point. Riders kind of all over the landscape. I think KST really struggling right now to keep things together, interesting enough, as I think there's some dropouts going on here. This is a tough spot. They need 4 riders. They have to have 4 riders, and I think one of the riders with a full-on dropout here.
I think it recovered. No, you're right, Nathan, but I think I saw that bike, the rider starting to move again. They really need to get that rider across the line. It's 3K to the finish, but that time is going to be a big difference versus, good. They're at least 4 rolling. So good for them. They do need to wait here, Nathan. Absolutely, and they are.
Good on them.
They're doing what they can with the tough situation right now.
Yeah, they are. This is a really tough situation, but it's good to see the current teamwork play out for us right on screen right now.
They communicated.
You can see the camaraderie play out in front of you. You can see the teamwork. You can see everybody, picking each other up, getting them across the line, regardless of the result. They have to make this sacrifice at this point to get 4 across the line. It's a team building experience, I think, at this point, to encourage each other. And from here, these situations, you can learn from them, and you can only, if everybody encourages each other, you can actually bounce back stronger because of it.
You come through this either as a team that's angry at each other or a team that has grown as a unit. And I have a strong feeling it'll be the latter for KST here. Look at them back together now. So well done here. You don't always have to win the bike race to have a successful day. And I feel like this is a successful day. They're learning a lot out here. We've talked about KST, but it certainly looks like it's NZ Bros Day out here. I apologize for our data issues here. I see people wondering where those times are. They'll be coming. Just hang in there. We'll get that to you as soon as we have it.
Nice little comment coming on here. Appreciate the comments coming in. And Nikki Hugs letting us know that Ed jumped on the WLC team as they swapped over. It looks like Dan's here with on the Premier team. So Katie as well as Nikki let us know that Dave, you need to be watching out in a couple of weeks for Laverick to be hanging out in the Premier division. That's why, and that makes a lot of sense, to be honest.
He'll be an impact rider immediately. Ed Laverick will certainly. He'll be like a Freddie Ovitt, right? All of a sudden, they're going to wonder Well, actually, no
Ooh,
one's going
that's
to
a
wonder who
big
this
name.
guy is.
That's a big name to throw in comparison. I mean, to throw Freddie Ovitt, and I mean, we'll see. Laverick now has to live up to what you just threw out there now. Maybe he will. We'll see what happens there. But Ovitt, whew, showing up for Legion last season seemed to be, I don't know if I've ever seen such domination, to be honest.
Yeah, I tell you what, I would imagine that Ed would be quite happy if he can pick up one win, let alone three that Freddie has. But it's on like Donkey Kong, no doubt about it. That's Premier League that starts not next week, but the week after. We've already got the community into it here as with the first of 2 team time trials well underway now. KST and Skylab is the rider that we're with. They were able to rally, recover, and the Danish riders are now bringing it home. They got a little more than 1K to go out here on Watopia's waistband. We call it that because it really does kind of just go right around the middle of Watopia, like a belt.
Back in, and I just want to encourage on Betty Squad. They're 4 minutes back here. There's 3 riders. They've shown up on the day. They're making it happen still. And I just want to say, like, having them out here and just some encouragement, making it happen on the day with the 3 riders. Good on them for showing up, making sure that they get the result in there for Betty Squad Racing. And, I love it that they showed up and they gave us some fashion design as well. I mean, the pink Scott socks here with the pink Trek bike as well. Well done to a couple, they also threw down with a little bit of S-Works out here as well with the rider that we have on screen right now. But really, really great to see that they're getting it done as a team, which is only going to be, again, another team. And for a lot of these teams, the first race out there, it is a learning experience. If they haven't been doing the WTRL TTT on Thursdays, which, again, if you had a rough time in the first go, maybe show up for a few of the TTTs on Thursday, right, Dave?
Thursday.
I mean, you'll see on Thursday, get some practice in and figure out what is going on with the team time trial out here. But shout out to the Betty Squad Racing for making it happen still.
If there was ever a discipline in cycling, Nathan, where you have to actually do it to be able to learn, you can't really read about it. Sure, it doesn't hurt to go in and form, but until you actually are in the moment, you just really, the learning curve is so steep with team time trialing. But one thing's for sure, showing up looking sharp, that's a good place to start. And Betty Squad has got that nailed. I bet you Anna Russell would just be going, ooh la la, over that kit. This is going to be Ask You. We were talking about the great kits in Zwift. This is another one of them, Wahoo Lecole, and 4 riders together. So that's a good sign. 4 riders now going to bring this on home. They've got 3K to go.
And it looks like they've brought back some solid time actually as well on SZR. SZR almost catching ATL, it looks like, up ahead of them. So solid times here coming in across the board. Moving our way backwards, it is going to be the GFT Sport Solid Speed. I believe this is going to be a really good time for them. They were in, so we're having a little bit of trouble with the data in the back end here, everybody. So 10-11 is what we got out here, but I think that's continued on from this Belgian
That's pretty
team.
stale.
Yeah, it is pretty stale. But when I'm looking at the times here from them right now, 32:07. Did they catch backpedal? 32:43. I think they may have. I think this GFTBE team is absolutely flying out here today. What I'm seeing.
They would have made a pass, actually. They are like a rocket ship out there right now. Remind me to never do a Grand Fondo in Belgium, Nathan, if I ever ask you if I should, because apparently you've got to make over 5 watts per kilo to be anywhere near the sharp end. This is one heck of a ride. Let me jump in. I want to give these guys a shout out, Nathan, as these Belgians are on point out here today. So again, we've been so excited having some of these new teams to get to focus in on as we're racing in the Central right now. And I am still, it's amazing, isn't it, when you look at how many quality teams we have out here. What is Grand Fondo racing under in there? There it is. So this is Demi van der Wingarden, Dries de Koster, Jori Verdian, Philip Van Letem, Thomas Belgian making up the 5 riders that we're looking at here. What a 4 at this point now, as De Coster is the other rider that I didn't have. Let me see if I can find him. There
If
we
it's
go.
Guy
So
De
De
Coster, I
Coster.
wouldn't be surprised if perhaps he's the DS out there. Maybe, perhaps. I mean, we'll have to wait and see, unless you have some power numbers from him in the live data.
No.
But Guy De Coster is a long, long time Zwifter actually out of Belgium. He's been around from early days.
There are power numbers coming from him. So,
interesting.
yeah, very
Oh,
interesting.
there he
All
is.
right.
I do see him. I do see him there. There he is. Okay, De Coster is there.
That's a famous name in Belgian cycling as well, De Coster. So there's a lot of famous names in Belgian cycling. They just had one of the greatest days in the history of the sport, Nathan, with the 100th World Championship happening in Flanders. You want to talk about history? Absolutely stunning. I mean, you just walk away shaking your head at how incredible that is, what they do there in Flanders.
Moving our way through the rest of the teams here. They are finishing up out on course. We'll stick in with them as we're waiting for some of the back-end data to come on through. Again, apologies on not having that. But Backpedal, another team associated with that Wahoo Lacole and the Ed Laverick brand that we call it here at this point. But they were caught by GFTBE. And so they, I believe, though, at least able to hold off Racing Study. Is that what it's going to be? E-Racing Study? But I believe that's just maybe a nickname out there for that rider. But Team LGPCIM is who we're looking at here right now. 34-36, 34-48 now, 26K, and they're finished up their last couple of K as they're being chased down by Team Netherlands with Manders. And I love the kit here. This is a very familiar kit. One of the first ones in game. They got 4 riders left. And, Holland always very strong on the bike, Dave.
Yeah, they look very Dutch, don't they? And I don't know that there's a nation that has more cycling in their DNA than Holland. That is for sure. It almost looks like an old Rabobank kit, to tell you the truth, as you see that Dutch flag all over the shop right now. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of a ride they put together. Not bad at all right now, as they're inside of 2K to go here. Just kind of holding on to the last few strands of that rope here, as they do have 4 together. That's all they need to get that time that they're looking for here. Let's see wow, filling in a lot right now. Then so 28-25. Look how close this is. Only 2 seconds separating the Photons and the Athlete C team. 10 seconds back.
Really changed up.
we
get the update and bam, here we go. And Adam Racing Team Photons. Not surprising me because of how often I've said that name. As we said, Thursday's TTT, that was going to be the thing to be watching out for, right? On who's been showing up to that. And Adam Racing Team's been showing up almost every single week. Well, it's showing us that practice makes perfect, as they had the best time at the 22K mark. We'll wait for the results to come in, but it's going to be between them and Athletic, actually. GFTBE as well, maybe in the story. Going back to Wahoo Lacole, not sure they're going to be able to pull off a point. That's a pretty big time gap to make up.
Yeah, I would agree. And we see how hard it is to make up just a couple of seconds, let alone 20 seconds or 15 out here, as the case may be. So it's ART Photons with a 28-25, 28-27, the time for the Athletic team sitting in second. It's Gran Fondo Team BE sitting with our 3rd fastest time. Wahoo Lacole A1, 4th fastest. Now, this is all at the 22K check. Most of these teams are just now either finished or finishing, as we're there or thereabouts to having everybody back home pretty quickly. It's Zwift España, the Hamsters, with a 28.56, in at 5th, Backpedal, Racers Without Mercy, the 6th fastest time, Lifting Gear Products, and Cyclists in Motion, 7th fastest, Sunrise Racing Team, in with our 8th fastest time. It's Team NLA Elite with the 9th fastest, and then the VCRT. I'm so used to saying doggos that now it's the Dobermans with the top 10 ride as it stands.
I love that. I love it that they changed it up to that. That's so great.
Well, there's probably more VCRT teams, right? That's my guess, is that they're growing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That is a
Yeah.
great sign. That makes a ton of sense, actually. As we're in with the coalition here, as they make their way to the line, this is going to be one of the Canyon development teams, as it's going to be Dixon, Shaw, Luciano. They still got 4. Grief now to the front, as you can see, coming out of Holland. And then it's going to be Foudre that is chasing them down with Nico at the front right now for Foudre out of Belgium. 6.3 watts per kilogram. They're starting to drop some riders off. They don't need
That's okay.
any more of these riders,
good.
though. No, they don't. They need to just get to the line as quickly as they can at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, this is a great sign that the team used every last watt that they had available. As the time comes off of the 4th rider, you start with 6. So actually, Nathan, if you think about it, dropping 2 in the last half K means you had close to the perfect ride for your team. And that's all we can ask. All you can do is be you. Sam here, the Foudre rider, going to bring it on home. Good work out there, guys. So this is going to be sub 38 by a lot out here. And Foudre was the 12th fastest time, but I think they might move up inside the top 10 with what they pulled off in that from split 3 to the finish here. Let's see if we'll have a good look at those results in a moment.
Chainring our team making their way to the line. Only 3 riders here amongst them right now. So this is going to be a difficult situation for them from what I can see. We'll see if there is any other riders here that got caught up anywhere. But BL13 chasing them down quickly. Look at this BL13 team just smashing it to the lines with España right behind them. We've got a lot of teams all finishing up right amongst each other. So that means we got a lot of really close times as well as some spread out 1-minute times as well between them all. Here's the Dobermans that you were talking about, Dave. It looks like they've only got 3 coming to the line, though.
Yeah, I'm wondering. So we've talked about this with a couple of teams today. Is there a 4th rider out there that will at least get a time for them? Oh, maybe it was. It looks like 4
maybe
now.
on our end.
Yeah.
Now it looks like, that was on our end.
Good.
On our end, for some reason, riders just disappearing for a second there. So
I'm glad I didn't invest too much time in explaining. But yeah, so that there is a 4th rider here, folks. You'll see it pop back up. I hope there it is.
Yep, there he is, Kenny. Oh my God, they killed Kenny. Is making his way to the line. No, not the team. There was a team that was named that though.
It probably still is. That was a. Trying to think, that was one of our America's West teams, wasn't it? I seem to think that was a Kate Bates memory that I have. We have so much fun with that America's West group, which we will again later today.
We're going to be jumping across to the women. This is going to be the C category just for a moment as they're helping us keep things in with the riders here for just a moment. As we're going to jump across, though, over to the women as they get out on course. For the C category right now, just as a crossover to the, as we wait for the women in the, going to be women's EMEA West Division 1A. EMEA West Division 1A taking off at 1:15 p.m., quarter past the hour right now. And as we do wait for the first teams to get out on course, we'll just jump in with the C's here for just a moment in the central for the men here. And it does look like P to Z are having a solid ride at 35:04. Look at the time difference. I mean, 35:01 was the fastest time we saw earlier in the Middle East, if I'm not incorrect. And at the 22K mark, 35:04. This goes to show why, I mean, across the board, it's great that we have the ability to mix it up so well and have this organization to have the parity between the teams with the organization that WTRL has put together for us, Dave.
So this is the Europe, Middle East, and Africa grouping. So you were saying the East, because we're in Central now, and the comparative division in the East was right about the same time at 35:01 for the team there?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. Well,
Yep.
For the finishing time at the A level, I was comparing an A level time to a C level time, essentially.
Oh, wow.
And how big of a difference there was. 35:01 was the finishing time at the top of the A's, and a 35:04 for the 22. So what I'm saying is it's great that there is this parity across the divisions and that you're able to race against people of similar ability level so much and not just get smoked with the 35:01 at the top level.
Yeah, and that's one of the beautiful things about having over 10,000 racers is no matter what level you're at, there's a bunch of people close to your level out there. And you're right, that's really one of the secrets to the success of ZRL or WTRL and Zwift Racing League. Both of them really benefit from having competitive racing and racing against people at your level. So P to ZS with that 35.04 is only 2 seconds quicker than Team Italy 5. The teams are finishing now. That's the 22K check that I'm talking about. So this team will have just gone through that check as one of our last teams to take the start, and that's WB Try 1. So we'll see 29.27. So they were a couple minutes there behind some of the faster times. Boy, they really are moving out there when you talk about the P to Z team, P to ZS with that 35.04. But Team Italy 5 right there with them. So that could go any different direction here when we look at our final results from this Europe, Middle East, and Africa Central Division 1C group.
Give us an idea. So to give everybody an idea of how much is actually going on out here today, 10,000 riders across all of the divisions. It's absolutely amazing how many that we actually have. Super exciting. I'm getting a message right now from Rachel Elliott. Just sent me a message. She's racing today, and she said in a private message about 10 minutes ago, I'm assuming she's going to be in with the squad. I just jumped in with the women's West, and I'm assuming we're going to have Rachel Elliott here. If you don't know that name, Dave, Rachel Elliott, one of the most iconic, I would say, amongst the women in Zwift racing. And she says, I'm racing totally blind today. Should be fun. Completely blind. And I want to know how, I want to get her in an interview and know how she's accomplishing this. But and I have a feeling that she's going to show up and absolutely smash it and be one of the biggest assets to her team out there today.
Yeah, and when you say totally blind, that's sort of an expression sometimes, but we're talking about actually she is vision impaired. And so I'd always thought that she had limited vision. And I've never, that's very interesting. And we love Rachel. And I hope everything's okay for her. But again, she never stops impressing us. There's no doubt about that. But I've never heard of someone doing such a thing, to tell you the truth. I'm kind of blown away, or I am blown away.
Yeah, we'll see how things end up playing out here today. She's got to be in with Socks for Watts. I would be surprised if she wasn't.
And Rachel has a lot of friends, and I'm going to guess that someone has to be there pushing some keys. You know what I'm saying? I don't think you could completely do this with voice command. You'd have to be able to see or have someone at least help you start. You know what I'm saying? Like just kind of get the computer screen things done.
Yeah, so she's hanging out. Here's Haynes, Despas, Mobs, and Rachel Elliott off the back a little bit here today. We'll see how this ends up playing out here for her today. But
your DS has a tremendous role to help Rachel understand what's going on if she can't see the screen.
Well, I mean, she's got the power, obviously. She's throwing 6 watts per kilogram at 151 beats per minute right now. So obviously she still has the power to throw down here. But, I mean, we're watching history in the making right in front of us. That we have a rider who's completely blind, able to participate here at this level amongst the Zwift Racing League right now. I mean, what an amazing story here that this is the opportunity. Go ahead, Dave. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. So for some perspective, Rachel Elliott is a visually impaired rider, and she was one of the original Zwift standouts going back 5 years ago or so. Nathan could tell this story better than I, but I just want to hit the bullet points for you. So a lot of people before Rachel Elliott had showed up at an in real life event were suspect that an athlete could be this powerful, this talented, this consistent. But in real life, she not only backed it up, she blew people away with her personality, her dedication, and I have never, Nathan, heard of anything like this, and I've been doing this for 20 years. Of an athlete who is now racing with no vision. If I'm taking her at her word, of course. Rachel's never, of course she's telling us the truth. So if she can't see it all, what she's doing right now, if you just put yourself in that perspective. She's got a huge engine. She's a world-class athlete, but she can't see. So she's got to be reliant upon people telling her what watts to make. And that she's basically a watt robot right now. Rachel, you are incredible.
Yeah, I mean, as far as that story goes, she showed up to London. In the first one, was not at the first Las Vegas event, and then showed up to London and just smoked the competition. And the reality of the watts that she was throwing down in game to get to London at the second CVR event were
kind of
obvious
erased
at that
any
point.
doubts.
It completely erased any
doubts.
doubts. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So Rachel Elliott now having a stroke, and then was able to come back from that stroke. Became vision impaired, and now it seems is racing and is amongst the pack here. I mean, it's not like she is not hampering them one bit. She is actually a huge asset at this point. This is a story of Rachel Elliott, but also a story of what Zwift is able to do for individual athletes.
Amen.
Absolutely awesome to see.
And again, yeah, I love it, Nathan. The story here is not, this is an exceptional para athlete. This is an exceptional athlete. You don't need any qualifiers with Rachel. It just so happens that she's blind. She doesn't need any extra help. You know what I'm saying? She's completely on her own, able to ride at the very highest level. Handicapped has become a term that we don't like to use, right? But she might have a visual impairment, but it certainly doesn't make her any less of a top athlete.
100%.
And Zwift really does make this possible, and I love that about Zwift, Nathan.
And as far as teams go, this is always one to watch out for. Now, they only have 4 riders, though, today. Socks for Watts showing up. This is always a team in the community that you need to keep on your radar as an ultimate threat. They, almost completely undefeated when it comes to the WTRL TTT on Thursdays. They do have a few of the riders here, as you can see, that make up that Thursday dominating team, but only 4 riders. So perhaps across a few of the other teams, some of the riders, because that Socks for Watts WR team definitely is kind of a coalition of riders coming from a couple of other top teams. So I have a feeling that here, not having the high-no riders that they usually have, maybe a couple of riders going over to some of their other, I think Lou Bates actually, who's ahead from No Pins R3R, riding right now, as you can see up ahead there. I believe she jumps in with WRT once in a while. So I think there's been a little bit of poaching to go back to some of their branded teams, their usual community teams is what's happened here. So Socks for Watts maybe losing a little bit of firepower there.
Yeah, I think that's something for folks that don't follow esports closely is a little confusing, but it completely makes sense when you understand the lay of the land. And that is that, and really part of this is WTRL, as there are teams that specifically race the team time trials there, and you have riders that will participate on one team for the WTRL events on Thursday, but they are part of another team. And I think that high-no WTRL relationship makes it really clear, doesn't it, Nathan? I forget the rider that you were just, was it Louis Gamps that you were, whoever it was that you were just mentioning?
I saw Lou Bates actually ahead.
Lou Bates.
I saw Lou Bates.
Perfect example. Right. Yeah.
Now, what I want to know, Lou Bates is a name that I would expect to see in the Premier Division, I thought, though. So,
well, and that was my question. You can't do both, can you? You can't race in community and race.
So maybe
in
Lou deciding to race community rather than. I'd be really surprised by that. Now here's another.
But
wow,
here,
this is a stacked field. Look who's ahead of them. Rose Beast Mode is out here as well from the community. WLC is here. Aeonian is here. BBB is here. TFC Vixen is here. This is a no joke. This is one of the most exciting field you can jump in with. That's for sure. I'm glad we picked this one. The Women's West for EMEA. This is going to be the telltale about how this whole, and these are teams that each and every week have been showing up for WTRL TTT and saying, hey, watch out for us for ZL, warming up for ZL, especially BBB, Vixen, Aeonian. WLC have been showing up in the same kind of way. So this is going to be super interesting to see the lay of the land here at EMEA. And I think the women in the Americas are watching this right now. Those who are in the Americas looking toward the playoffs, wondering who they're going to have to battle, this zone right now, they are watching and wondering what's going to play out.
Well, and this is, if you want to look at the timeline of esports and in particular the ZRL, this is the best sign, is that we now have the teams have become franchises, almost like Major League Baseball, where you've got your Premier League team and then you've got the different levels that build in underneath that. And, a perfect example there would be that you're going to have riders, for example, that can't race on Mondays, as that's the day that Premier League racing happens. So if you have a job, you're a nurse, a doctor, whatever it might be, makes no difference. If you can't race on Mondays, now at least you can keep racing if you can do Tuesdays with another team in your franchise. And this really speaks to the depth that we're starting to realize out here now. So we're moving into the Western Europe group as we travel around the globe with the ZRL out here today. It's hard to keep up, Nathan, as we just move from race to race. And we'll go back, I would imagine, and take a look at what just happened in the Central as those results are being compiled and confirmed as we speak.
Yeah, and we also have now the Americas, not the Americas, we have the European West men about to take off as well. So it just keeps on rolling throughout the entirety of the day. Just going to give you guys a quick little shot. Here are the men ready to take off. Team CLS, R3RDF, PTZ, WLC have some more teams in there as well. I actually saw a graphic go out from WLC over on their Instagram. Wahoo Lacole does have an Instagram for their esports team. And they had it was like 20 teams across all of the categories and all of the zones. Team Italy is out here as well, SGAB. I mean, there's plenty of racing to happen here still in the West.
For those that are looking there, that red bar across the bottom was not your computer screen going on the fritz. That was, that's the, what would you call that? The barrier that they put up, the visual barrier.
The start banner. The start banner? The start banner
right,
here?
There it is. Exactly. I thought my screen was broken, Nathan, but no, that's a great look at the pen. That is an intimidating group of human beings. So I'm going to guess that as we watch that countdown right there,
Veritas is here.
Will start.
Veritas is here. That team that's been showing up and really trying to make a name for us throughout the classics. We were talking about this. Watch out, Zwift Racing League, because of this team Veritas. So the Portuguese team, I want to know how that definitely plays out here. Between some of these top teams. AHDR also have a team in here. Not what you want to see.
Don't go.
Oh, no. Who took off from the start? And we're going to have...
Unfortunately, so they've never done WTRL. That's what I would say. And I'm not slamming them. I'm just saying that unfortunately what you're watching is a hiccup. This poor rider thought that they had their start time, and now
this is a DS. I think this is a DS.
It's a DS. Okay, good.
He's just getting out on course. I don't know if he's supposed to do that. I'm not exactly sure what the rules are on DSs. Maybe there's a rule about it or not.
Either way, not our problem. Everything's okay.
Everything's okay. Yeah. I was concerned for a second, but see the E next to the name there? That means that they're in the E pen, which means they're a DS. The E pen is used for DSs, just as a heads up.
So what happens here is there's a team now out on course. There is a countdown, and your team has been assigned a start time. So you're on what we'd call the stagger, right? You know where you're staggered. And your team, the director sportif, we talk about communicating on Discord and how that's such an important part of being successful out here is communication. Discord is one way to do it that works quite well, it seems. I don't really hear of too many teams using anything but Discord. And Nathan, so staying in communication, it starts well before the race begins.
Oh, it definitely does. I show up. If you're a part of a team that is used to each other a little bit, even then, though, I show up a solid 30, 15 minutes or so before, getting my warm-up in. And while we're talking beforehand, who's going, what's the order, what kind of watts per kilogram, what are we going to do at each section of the course? But, what is our start time? How many minutes do we have before we actually take off from the pens? Since you know that, you go either to the pairing screen or you just don't pedal. You have to make sure that everything is in place so you know exactly when to go. And if you don't have a DS, somebody's telling you when to go. That's just reality because you got to wait for your turn. And if you do have a DS, they better tell you exactly when to go to hit that timing right because those are precious seconds, or a DQ if you take off too early.
This is not a good time to be guessing. That's for sure. I mean, I think honestly, you can see this in so many elements of our lives where if you fail to prepare to fail, because you really need to have that information. That's why recon is so important, knowing the lay of the land before you get there. And I think, Nathan, I mean, we could even speak to that, right? If we have a nice opportunity before the race to talk and look over some bullet points and understand what's happening, we have a much better show than if we get rushed into it with technical issues, right? And things are a challenge. It's much more comfortable when you know that everybody's on the same page. And clearly that's what we're looking at right now. This yellow jersey has to be TFC, the Friday Criterium, one of the more recognizable kits in the peloton.
Yeah, they were the first ones to get out on course, as you can see. 20.7 to go for them. These are the teams that are out there for this women's EMEA Div 1. I'm just going to go ahead and make this big screen for a second just so everybody can see who we are watching. And the reason why we were saying that this is the who's who. TFC, one of the longest standing teams, obviously, they're with the Vixens. The BBB team, who have just jumped into the racing scene. That's all 40-plus women, actually, who are out there hammering away, and they've had some amazing results so far. Aeonian RT there, 21.3 to go for them. It's going to be Wahoo Lacole Elite Women. Now, Maud, I wonder if she's jumped in with them. She's been a name that has been absolutely a dominating force. Rose Beast Mode, No Pins R3R, Sox Wads, Watt TF here, Rafa CC, Draft ZRL, Crouch and Stelvio, and then Sisu, I Race Like a Girl. So, absolutely great to see what kind of level is coming in from the West. And as you can see, the BBB team actually closing in on the TFC Vixen. It's only 8 seconds. We'll see how this will end up rolling up on them because they are within striking distance now, Dave.
Well, it's so motivating, Nathan, when you are getting that. This right here is absolutely ideal for a team that's on a good day because you've got a marker to chase. If you think they were motivated before, this will even get you that extra 2% that you're looking for here to have what was a great day into an incredible day. BBB. Now, we've talked about the teams that have been showing up on Thursdays at the WTRL and doing their work. This is one of those teams, and man, it looks like it's paying off for them as they are just about to come up on the middle part of the course. We'll try to get any splits and any information that we can for you out here, but obviously this team is on a tremendous ride right now.
Now, what's interesting to me is I believe BB went out second, if I'm not incorrect. I'm looking at the board here, and they went out second. WLC have almost caught them as well.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, WLC are absolutely flying out here today. I mean, WLC going out fourth. They caught Aeonian, passed Aeonian, and have almost caught BBB as well. WLC, on the women's side of things, are here to make a statement right now, and they are not a team to be messed with. They have Premier Division written on them with catching 2 teams within the first 13, 14K. This is unheard of, Dave. 6.7 from laying him on the front.
Nathan, we are going to be talking about EMEA West Division 1A a lot this year. So let me note here. Okay. So you're 100% correct in what you're saying about WLC, Wahoo Lacole. That's Anna Fairweather, Corral Arthur, Helen O'Neill, Sonia Carrot, Vies de Jong, and Zoe Langham. Wait until you hear this, Nathan. So Team I Race Like a Girl, I believe that they are starting with, see, I said we, I want to be a part of this because they've got an incredible squad. Listen to this name, racing in this division. Catherine Curie is taking the start for I Race Like a Girl. She is a 3-time Premier League winner. This changes everything, folks. Absolutely everything. Because they're starting with 4 today, Nathan. But those 4 are Amanda Wendorf, Annie Poland, Catherine Curie, and Meredith Kessler. Those are 4 straight up monsters on that team. So Wahoo Lacole has 6 really talented athletes. I mean, listen, Catherine Curie won 3 times out of, I mean, she's been the winningest women's racer in the WZRL, I should say. This is an incredible season we have to look forward to. Can Wahoo Lacole beat I Race Like a Girl? I don't know. Let's let them race and find out, right? But isn't that amazing?
Well, I mean, this makes me shudder. If I am the rest of the field here and I see this message come through and this dominating performance. Now, we haven't gotten times in yet, right? Like, we're hyping all of this. Rose Beast Motor out here. Draft is out here. Cryogen, Seesaw Race Like a Girl. This looks amazing up front, right? The way that they were seated maybe is giving them a little bit more hype up front, but Madeline's not even in the race. She's actually a student teacher right now and can't make it this week. Maud LaRue is not even here right now. And she is the power horse. She is one of the strongest pieces to this game right now that Wahoo Lacole is playing.
She's the engine room. She's the engine room. I mean, like, she is a wattage cottage, and she's not even here, and they're having this right now. Zoe Langham here. You can see, right, this is this team has depth. They've got cohesion. I would really, really look forward to some excitement there. But we love Maud, no doubt, and I will look forward to having her back. She's going to be a really fun rider to have as part of the ZRL. But this team, I tell you what, that says a lot about your team that you can be missing a rider as talented as Maud LaRue and still have this kind of a ride. We'll start looking for some splits here as they're coming up on the second of 3 out there. 8, 16, and 22K today. 28 total K, and there they are making the catch, Nathan. Nice job on the producing there.
They're flying right on through Langham here now. And it looks like it's going to be a pretty clean, good spot to catch, too, with a 1% uphill gradient, actually. So they're going to get a little bit of ability to just press some extra watts per kilogram. A little bit bunched up at the front there. Looks like they're going to get together and press on. Arthur going to take over at the front, it looks like. And O'Neill at the back. Going to need a little extra watts per kilogram here. TFC hanging on for just a moment. Eustace needs to let that wheel go, and it looks like she's going to do so. And the rest of TFC are going to get back on her. She can't really jump in and be a part of WLC just now, Eustace. You kind of need Armstrong to be on your wheel, it looks like here.
Yeah, you're going to have to fill out some paperwork and stuff to get on the team. And actually, who would ever want to leave TFC? That's another, Nathan, you've used this term and I love it, long-standing. TFC falls in that category, don't they? They've been around. I would put them in
they're one of the first ones in game. As far as kits in game go, they were one of those kits that got in game right in with the first or second round. Yeah.
Right, Vision, as TFC. Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Good
early
for
as a kid. One of the first kits. Well, actually, no. It was a standing joke. Actually, that's the funny thing. They were still one of the first kits comparatively to all of these other kits, but it was a standing joke. When is TFC going to get their kit? Because it took a while compared to some of these other teams that have been around so long. That's what it was. So they are there with these like Vision and WBR. And the CVR, that whole crew, right? That whole crew that was in there. And then, but I was always like, when is TFC getting their kit? When is TFC getting their kit? And then they finally got their kit in game, which is absolutely great to see here. We're seeing, going to jump backwards here a little bit because my question now is, they caught Aeonian, they caught BBB. But Rose Beast Mode, what I want to know is what kind of time differentiation does Rose Beast Mode have with them? And they've actually almost lost a full minute, it looks like. We don't have the splits right now, but Rose Beast Mode started right behind Wahoo Lacole. And when we look forward, Wahoo Lacole are 2 minutes ahead of this team, actually, which is telling me that Wahoo Lacole have gained a minute over Rose Beast Mode. And that's no small thing, them getting a minute on this kind of a powerhouse team, Rose Beast Mode.
a German team. Rose is a bike shop and bike brand. They were a team that set a standard that a lot of other teams are going to look to try to obtain, Nathan. Rose Beast Mode. They came on early with awesome social media strategy. We've really enjoyed this team. They communicate well, and I would highly recommend for other teams that are getting into this, look at what Rose Beast Mode did. They set a very high standard for how to operate as an esports team. Haven't they been great to work with, Nathan?
Absolutely, one of the best teams. The way that they've shown up, their social presence is amazing. Their personality is amazing. You just know who they are because of the way that they show up, not only in game but also in the community and their communications. Now, another team to be watching out for, and I would not count this team out in any way whatsoever. No Pins R3R. I think we're looking at a top 5 minimum out here today, but
agreed.
Sox or Watts are doing what Sox or Watts do, and they've already closed down 30 seconds with 4 riders to No Pins R3R right now.
Well, Nathan, Rachel Elliott counts as 3 herself. So they really have 7.
Just get on the front and hammer the Watts. I mean,
she's
that's all she needs
talented.
to do.
If there was ever a human being that I would say meets the athletes, don't judge a book by its cover, right? If you saw Rachel Elliott in the airport, you would not think that you're looking at one of the strongest human beings on planet Earth. But let me guarantee you that you are, without any doubt. Haley Johnson, I think, would agree with me. Julia Decker would certainly agree with me. This is the R3R team that we're looking at out here right now. No Pins R3R. Now Sox for Watts is, I'm jumping over now to Sox for Watts here, as this is a team that we have. So Kat Haynes, Gemma Sargent, Jane Despis, Rachel Elliott, and Rhea Mobbs. But they've got 4, which is okay at 17K. Not ideal. I can see Haynes hanging right in there here. Decker, Bates and company.
The level at which 2 of these riders ride at, though, makes up for the reality of 4 riders. Despas plus Elliott, they just need to take the majority of the polls, and I think with that, I mean, Haynes, too, it looks like bringing some pretty amazing
There's no weak link
through here as well. Yeah, so this they're doing just fine, it looks like, even with the lack of numbers, as they have pulled a solid 40 seconds over the top of Rafa RCC, and RCC are showing up, it looks like, with 5 on the day right now.
Nobody wants to start with 4, Nathan, but if you've got 4 athletes at that level, you're okay. You've got some legs to stand on, that's for sure. So Rafa RCC, we get a look at now. It's interesting when you talk about the number of riders because it's not a numbers game. The riders have to be at an ability level to be useful. So it's not just filling the slots. You can start with 22 riders, but if only 4 of them are strong enough, then you might as well just started with 4.
Now, with the data we do have to work with right now, we can tell a little bit of a story with these teams that are making catches. Crouch and Stelvio have closed down, it looks like, to Rafa RCC women pretty well here, and it looks like are going to be making a catch, but they started behind Draft ZRL, actually, so they've not only made up a full minute on Draft ZRL, but now they are about to overtake the team that started 2 minutes ahead of them. So Crouch and Stelvia are having an amazing ride. Now, I want to notice something. Jay Boril, now another now I'm wondering, is this in-house, right? I mean, we've got there's the Cryo RDT Toyota on the men's side and the women's side of things here. It looks like with top riders showing up with Aaron Borrell, I believe it is, and then it's gonna be Jay Borrell here. I'll see if I can get a first name for everybody. So pretty cool to see coming out of South Africa.
Jenna Burrill is the rider that you're talking about there. Let me first off give a shout out to an absolutely beautiful flag. That would be Lithuania's, or excuse me. Let me make sure I got that right. I was thinking maybe I went from Latvia. It's Lithuania. There we go. I doubted myself. I shouldn't have done that. It's Ursulia Bardovskaya there from Lithuania on this Toyota Cryogen team. Joe Munden, you mentioned Jenna Burrill, and then Swedish rider Katrin Nielsen on cryo, and Nathan cryo never disappoints. 5 riders here. I realize I'm missing one, and I'm trying to. Paul would be that rider. And again, I'll track that down here. But very strong team having an incredible effort out here today. There's that Lithuanian that I'm talking about. That's a beautiful flag, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Awesome to see all the representation that's taking place here on this team. And Cryogen, Stelvio, amazing team. And Borel, there, Jenna, with the RDT and Toyota in there, maybe also crossover coming in from the elite team that this Cryogen does have. Now, Annie Pullen, Kessler, Curry, Wendorf, this is no joke.
Get ready. Yeah. Okay. So, Nathan, I don't know how you beat these women. We're talking about how some teams can start with 4 and be competitive. This is one of them. If they don't win, I'll be a little surprised, but looking at them right now, it doesn't look perfect. Nobody's ever perfect out here.
Annie, I haven't seen Annie. I've seen Annie racing a lot recently, actually side by side with Caleb Carl on live stream. We're talking about couples that race Zwift together. I've seen them actually side by side in the same races on live stream. So Caleb just getting done, Annie now jumping on. Curry, Kessler, Wendorf. I'm not sure that Annie, though, has done a lot of TTTs like this. I'll have to look back and see. But
I would agree.
I think she's newer, though,
name.
to this. She's newer to it, I think, in the last 6 months or so at this kind of a level. And she's jumping into the deep end with Wendorf, Kessler, and Curry. I mean, seriously. But she's got the power and is an amazing rider.
She's a level 42 Zwifter. That shows some pretty serious.
I may be eating my words then.
No,
at that
I'm with
point
you.
Here.
I agree. No, I 100% agree. I'm really impressed with Annie Poland. This is an entirely American team that we have here, even though this is the European, the time zone makes sense right now. If you were in California, where I know Catherine Curie is in NorCal. She's up in the Palo Alto area, the beautiful Bay Area around San Francisco up there. It's not even noon where they are. So most of these riders, Nathan, they've already had dinner for the most part. Right now, it's, into the early evening hours in Europe. So there's Annie Poland. She's got to be happy with the ride that she's having out here today. This team is absolutely flying as they're inside of 10K, significantly inside of 10K to the finish. So, Nathan, I'm going to put you on the spot. If you looked at this with knowing what we know, is this the team to beat today, even starting with 4? When you factor in Catherine Curie, Wendorf, Kessler, we talked about Poland. This team is so strong. Are they the team to beat?
I'm looking at the front of this. They're very well organized. That's the first thing I'll say. They're not really overlapping each other like we've seen some of these other teams with a few more riders doing. And that is a huge, huge deal. Not losing speed or wasting energy. Even if you only have 4 riders, if you're wasting any energy, though, or if you have 6 riders, if you have 6 riders, but you're wasting energy or you're slowing things down, if you're not well organized, that's going to really shoot you in the foot, and it almost doesn't matter at that point. If they stay this organized and they pull 5 watts per kilogram plus on the front, I just don't know how you're going to beat them because still at the end of the day, speed is king. And, those kinds of power numbers, how do you match them? Now, Wahoo Cole, we're pulling similar watts per kilogram on the front, though, Dave. I saw 5+ over and over again early on. Did they continue? And they have 6 riders. So that is a big if in there I think it's Wahoo Cole versus this team, to be honest.
I agree, but I'm going to say close, but maybe not enough because these ladies are putting numbers up that are just mind-blowing, to tell you the truth. And Meredith Kessler is having a great ride today. She's a triathlete, a pro triathlete, must be informed. Catherine Curie's name for most of our viewers should be pretty familiar. She's a U.S. road champion from back in 2006, but has been a dominant force, incredibly well-respected rider in, all of the different formats. She's participated in plenty of the WTRLs, and I don't want to, gild the lily, as they say, but this team is incredible. They're going to, if they lose, I will be stunned.
I want to give everybody an idea of what we're doing today when it comes across the community. Just going to switch gears for a second while we wait for some of these times to come in and give everybody an idea of what exactly the level of this is that WTRL are taking on. And I said this the other day. It's at the level of, this is like National Federation. I said this actually on the Zwiftcast 100 just launched. It's on video as well as audio as a podcast. The Zwiftcast number 100, myself, GP Lama, and obviously Simon Schofield producing that. And I said this as far as what WTRL has done in the world of Zwift racing. The Zwift Racing League community competition stats right now, 1,800 teams. 10,000 plus Zwift racers, 140 nationalities, 136 divisions across 17 leagues, 55 Zwift events, 136 races, and 6 hours of community live broadcast. And that is 290 kilometers today in race, 290,000 kilometers in race one. That is per week, everyone. Per week, that is what's going on. It's absolutely insane to see what
Sounds like a good
has
year.
accomplished.
That sounds like a good year. Yeah.
It does. It does sound like a good year. That's a great point, actually, Dave. If you were to run a race series, well, that's what we did. You would sell that to a sponsor, wouldn't you, Dave? If you were going to sell, let's go. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's I'm on board, right? So, I mean, this is no joke when it comes to the organization that has been thrown together by WTRL today.
And we sure do appreciate it. I don't know of anyone. I've never met anyone in my life, Nathan, that works harder than Martin. Just the dedication and answering all of my dumb questions is only one millionth of what he has to do. So, Martin, a huge thank you. You should be so proud of what you've created here, along with all of our friends at Zwift. Nathan, I love this team. I race like a girl. I just am so impressed.
I want to speak to the team as well. Angela Nath, who runs the team, the triathlete.
The Canadian.
Yeah, absolutely awesome. The energy that she brings to this team and the support of women's racing. And, they have one of the coolest social media accounts in the world as well. Definitely go throw that a follow. And the way that they are supporting women's racing, specifically in the triathlete crowd, and then moving over to this Isn't that interesting, Dave? How it moved from triathlete to esports, and it synergizes really, really well, it seems like, and how they picked up racers from in real life cycling. And now this triathlete team now has this awesome mixture going on here now.
Right on, Nathan. I always laugh because I have to think that I race like a girl is somewhat of a reaction to the statement, that was pretty good for a girl. Right. And what a BS statement that is. And I mean, like, look, Catherine Curie isn't pretty good for a girl. She will rip your legs off. I don't care what gender you are. And same thing with everyone. I see Meredith Kessler right in the middle of our screen. These ladies are world-class athletes, and they are putting on a clinic out here right now, starting with 4. I apologize for any lack of data. We'll catch back up with all of that. But I have a feeling you're looking at the gold medal ride right now.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I got to move forward to Wahoo Lacole. I mean, I got to see where Wahoo Lacole is at and how they're doing. How are they doing? Because that is going to be the telltale at this point as we see Rose Beast mode. They might have already finished. We can't even find Wahoo Lacole. Wahoo Lacole is off the map at this point. They're gone. They've already finished their race. So we'll have to wait and see what ends up playing out for the results out here today. We do have some comments coming in that are absolutely great. Keep them coming if you got questions as well. But one of our favorite teams, NZ Bro here, coming on in with a little bit of a comment about that kit that we saw earlier today. And they're just letting us know that NZ Bro using NCC kit as we haven't got it in game yet. So Frodo and Aragorn are just having to go to Platinum Premier League to get Premier Division to get Zwift to make their own kit. I wouldn't be surprised actually if that ended up happening. One bit. Also a little comment Nathan, from Karen, real quickly, Wendorf is a pro triathlete, but has been going hard in the gravel circuit this summer, which is also a little bit of a crossover. We've seen a lot of Zwifters on the gravel circuit recently.
I think of Christy Tracy, right? Also based in Texas, for that matter. So esports, gravel, and triathlon all go together pretty well. Nathan, have you noticed that NZ Bro seems to be using a Lord of the Rings theme
Oh
for their
yeah, for
names,
sure.
which has
Oh
to
yeah,
be
yeah, yeah,
very,
yeah.
very
We talked about this
you, yeah.
last week, actually, and I think the week before we talked about it just a little bit. Yeah,
with someone else, I think. I don't with Anna.
maybe
right?
I was solo. I think I was solo, and I was really excited about really excited about the fact that there was Lord of the Rings. And I gave the whole story about when I picked up Lord of the Rings in 7th grade.
Oh, really?
I think.
I'm sorry I missed you last week. That was WTRL's Thursday, as I was on my way to Leuven at that point. So I hate missing WTRL Thursdays. You guys had so much fun without me. FOMO.
Missing out. You're missing out there, Dave.
I know.
Definitely. Not the fear of it. Actually happened. It's just MO.
No, I'm not afraid. Yeah, it happened.
it just happened. Happy birthday to Langham.
Birthday?
Yeah, happy birthday to Langham out there, killing it for WLC, bringing the birthday watts. I don't know. She might have brought a present to beat Catherine Curry and see so I race like a girl here, Dave. I'm not sure. I mean, 5.5 on the front, though, for Meredith Kessler right now. And Annie Poland. Now Curry actually pulling 5.5. So 43 kilometers per hour. It's going to be a tough one to beat. I think it's going to come.
And look at the formation.
All right, we're going to have to go. You're going with Seesaw I Race Like a Girl. I'm going with, and I think I might be taking, the underdog here at this point with the reality of who we are looking at. But I'm going to take Wahoo Lacole. I'm going with WLC for the birthday watts.
Well, I can't go against you on that, but I certainly am going to stick with my pick. These are world-class athletes that we're in with, and they are putting on a show, right? I mean, Nathan, look at this. Does it get any better than what you've got on screen right now? Yeah, it would be better if it was 6. That's the only way you could say. I don't know that there's 2 other women that could hang in this chain gang right now, as these ladies are okay. Again, as I said at the top of the show, nobody ever has a perfect team time trial ride, and this won't be one either, but this was damn close. We are looking at a command performance right now from I Race Like a Girl. Again, apologizing for lack of data, but you're looking at poetry in motion right here from these 4 women.
Yeah, and I mean, catching most of the field out there today. Amazing.
They're about to start winning next week's race right now. That's how good they are.
They'll win the points race, even with what's going on out here today. Let's go ahead and jump across over to the men's race. This will be the final race we'll be covering for the European side of things. SGAB making their way around course. Electric Spirit Company. Again, this is also going to be a who's who. It's always that 1:30 Central, 7:30 p.m. UK time that tends to be the big hitters that show up, and this is not going to disappoint at all.
No. Never does at this point. I just want to send a thank you out to all of the racers for the incredible entertainment that you bring us. It has been so much fun watching you all have at it out here. And we're in with Romy now. They are looking at, let's call it 6K to go as we make our way through this 28K showdown to start out 2021-2022 season 1. So for those of you wondering why so many words need to be used there, we had our first 3 ZRL seasons that they kind of bracketed together earlier in Boy, the years all blend together, don't they? Going back to 2020 and 2021. But now we're moving into our next group of 3 races, sort of like Lord of the Rings, right? We work in the triad mode. So I don't know what The Hobbit was. The Hobbit was everything that happened before we got into season 1. But this is a fresh season. Actually, that's a good way to look at it. Everybody gets a fresh slate out here today for our first of 8 races for the community.
Yeah, and as we wait for, maybe we'll see if we can get some splits to come on through out here today, but we're going to at least get a look at what the teams are that we have in this West. And there's going to be SG Athletical Budelsdorf, and I believe that's exactly who we're looking at, the German team. Then Team Electric Spirit, Jabberwock. They're going to be dancing a little bit, it looks like. I wonder if that's the Jabberwockies that they're using that off of. So you think you can dance first season winners, actually, if you didn't know that. So
The
nice
fact
job
that
to
you
Team
know
Electric
that
Spirit.
scares me. The fact that I had no idea that you would have any reference point with "So You Think You Can Dance."
Of course I do. My sister Hannah Zlomke, if you don't know, 16K
Oh,
plus
she's a
over
famous
on
dancer.
yeah,
Right.
over on Instagram. So there's a little bit of dancing in the family. So HDRK Crusaders and then PTZ Almeida,
It's
Wahoo Lacole, London Phoenix,
so.
TBR is out there. Go ahead, Dave.
Well, I was just going to say it's funny because that is where most people would think Jabberwock comes from, but Jabberwocky is actually a Lewis and Carroll, the guy who wrote Alice in Wonderland. It,
Oh,
so it's a nonsense poem written by Lewis and Carroll about the killing of a creature named the Jabberwock, and it goes back to 1871. It was from a novel called Through the Looking Glass.
oh, of course, of course. Gotcha. Okay,
Isn't it
gotcha, gotcha,
crazy how
gotcha.
much we pack into a
I mean, through
broadcast,
the
whether we're
looking
learning about
glass. I mean, I
animals
know
or
through the
mountains?
looking glass. I know that, but I
That's
didn't
the
know the
Alice in
the
Wonderland.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right.
Gotcha. Interesting. So now the Jabberwock, is that going to be one of the actual characters in
It's a
Alice in
monster.
Wonderland that we watch? When you
Yes.
watch the cartoon, you'll actually pick up on which one it is. I wonder.
No, it's a
No.
separate thing.
Okay,
Is the
gotcha.
but same time, same
There was no
guy.
there was
Yeah.
there was no character in the cartoon version, movie
you're-
version. I wonder.
Yeah, you're
that they
thinking like
tried
the
to ru-
Cheshire Cat. The Cheshire Cat would be an example of a character in Alice in Wonderland, and Jabberwock
Exactly.
is like right. Yeah.
Exactly.
So there's our somewhat weird history from Dave and Nathan that we always like to share with you. We've learned about
thanks to
mountains.
the
We've learned-
naming. Thanks to the naming
Right.
of the teams. I mean, they really put us down the rabbit hole. To be honest, completely
So to
down the
speak.
rabbit hole today to find that one. I mean, that was next
Literally.
level coming from the Jabberwock team out there today. I mean, not only did we get So I Think You Can Dance, but now we've got Alice in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass. So we're looking through the glass right now here at the SGAB. Let's go ahead and move our way around because I believe we've got PTZ out here, AHDR out here as well, and Electric Spirit Co.co battling it out. We're waiting for some time splits to come in. If we don't get them, we'll at least hype up everybody's finishes as the men make their way around. This is a team that I'm wondering how this is really. Did they make a catch? They had to make a catch. I'd be really surprised if they were
did.
caught, because this team
No,
is so fast.
That's a pass. Yeah, you'll see that Portuguese flag. This has been a nation that has really stepped it up. Boy, do they look good, don't they, Nathan? Look at the kit here, the organization. Heck yeah, Portugal. So Veritas here, we talked about, again, even more history for you. Go back to ancient Rome, and Veritas was one of the individuals that's like the Iceni races that we have, the individuals that stood up to the Roman Empire over 2,000 years ago, and out of Iberia, which is the Spain and Portugal area. So these guys have been incredible. They're having a great ride here today, and I'm assuming they made that pass. They had to have.
I mean, Calcutta here at 6.8 watts per kilogram on the front. I'm only seeing 5 or so from no pins. No pins
No,
are
they are
closing
moving.
some time down here, though. So I'm just going to take a look at the start order real quick to give us an idea of what's happening. But Veritas, I mean, R3R started 2 teams ahead of them. So, yes, they did make a pass. They've actually made up 2 minutes over R3R. So Veritas here are showing up to race, that's for sure. Jet Racing,
this
a
is
few
another-
others behind them here at this point. Team CLS, see some communication coming on through here. Wahoo Lacole, though, this is a team that we've seen on the men's side of things, another Wahoo Lacole team, but the familiar names that I'm seeing here with Southern as well as Larson. I don't know. I'll be interested to see how this team ends up playing out at the end of the day. Mark Worthington used to be a BRT rider. He got picked up. The rebranding that came over from WOC and BRT. There were a lot of riders that got picked up over and made the crossover. Actually, Jet here. Did Jet get caught, or is Jet actually making a catch? They were caught for sure. Wahoo Lacole. Yeah, Wahoo Lacole overtook them. Yep. Yeah.
Hey, Japanese flag. Love to see that. It's another nation that's been showing up more and more in our ZRL races.
Well, look at this. They have a kit in game. Jet. Japanese esports.
Mount Fuji. Mount
Yeah.
Fuji on their jersey. Looks very cool. And a lot of ride-ons tucked into a jersey pocket there.
For Uyama. Uyama, we've got Yaguchi, Kojima, Iwabuchi all hammering away right now. It's going to be 5 riders left here, as well as BD
You want to
toward the
know,
front.
Nathan, right now in Tokyo, Japan, it is 4:00 in the morning. Maybe the worst possible time to race your bike could be 3 or 4 o'clock in
I
the morning.
wonder if these riders are actually in Japan. Like
Odds are good when you see all of them together.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just such an odd time to be racing because they've got one of the great things about WTRL and ZRL is that we have time zones for everyone. But maybe they like the competitive aspect of being in with this group. I think they do.
They all get up for BD.
Oh my gosh. You'd have a hard time getting most of my racer friends to wake up and race at 4 in the morning. And plus, you can't just wake up and get on your bike. You have to get up at least an hour earlier to get some nutrition.
BD might actually be in Japan. BD might actually just have a U.S. flag and be in Japan. I've got plenty of friends who are over in Japan that would ride under the U.S. flag. So interesting to see here. BD here, 175 beats per minute.
And hey, that's a great time, Nathan, to mention while we are waiting for data to come in that we love communicating with all of you. I think I can speak for you on that too, Nathan. It's very enjoyable to hear your stories. So don't be shy. You can always find us on the socials. And the more we hear about your stories, the more we're able to sound like we know what we're talking about. So
yeah, it's
share.
always absolutely awesome. Go ahead and tag us, send us DMs, messages. We love to see them. We get a ton of them coming on through, and they're always super, super appreciated. You guys are great to hear from the community.
I second that. I third that. All right. So Ciclissimo 8508. This is an Italian that we're with. All Italians here. Magiola, Cherbuini, Tonan. So I'm trying to figure out. Yeah, okay. So they're at about 5K to go, and it looks like they're having a pretty good ride today.
Yeah, and Team Italy, we did see a lot of comments coming on through about Team Italy and some excitement about how they were going to perform out here today. It does look like they've made up some time on the R3R ACDC team that's ahead of them. 4.5, now 5 watts per kilogram. They're coming from Mangiola there from Team Italy. 177 beats per minute currently. Good organization, it looks like, as riders looking to just grab back on the wheel. Those 2 riders behind, do you see how they're fighting, though, these 2 riders behind for the wheel?
Right.
There's let one rider pull. Do not fight your rider. If you fight your rider, that speed is not going to pick up at all. When you start fighting the rider right now that you're trying to grab the wheel with, whoever's the stronger just needs to make it happen, because all you're doing is slowing each other down and keeping each other off of the wheel in front of you. There, they got into line. Good to see. Straight line. And that's one thing that I've seen time and time again in my own experience with the TTT is once in a while, one rider, either something's going on with their trainer and they can't get some consistency out of their watts, or they can't really feather it enough to make sure they stay in that single file order. So, and they kind of jump around a little bit, or they don't really know how to keep their avatar out of your business. And so, trying to get out of my way or get into the right order here. And so they've got it now, though. And maybe even watching the broadcast, they got called out a little bit here. Guerra making his way backwards. Mangiola here just needs to make his way forward. And I wonder if Guerra is actually dropping off or just looking to be the last man. That maybe is what's going on there.
There's an element of ballet to this, right? It's not just about having the power to perform, but understanding the grace. And we use that term feathering, and it makes a lot of sense. This is really, really hard to do. When a team, it's like so many things in life. Michael Jordan makes playing basketball look easy. It's clearly not. And our top teams make this look much, much easier than it is. You know what I'm saying, Nathan?
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's really, really difficult. It took me quite a while to get that level.
And it's not just you is the problem. You're in concert with 5 other people out here. So no matter how good your skills are, it's the old Blue Angels reference. You're really reliant upon your teammates to be steady, consistent, and predictable.
One rider can completely Like if one rider's moving all throughout the entirety of your team over and over and over again and getting in the way, they can completely mess up the entirety of the rotation. Because if they cause any kind of gaps to open up and a rider has to close it down, and then they feel like they have to go way over to take their pull, or if they slow down for their pull, and it just one little hiccup like that, it becomes so incredibly important.
Do your job, stay in your lane. And all of those things really do apply. Don't try to do someone else's job out here. Just do your job. And all of these things, you have to be able to follow direction. You can't push back when you've got a director telling you. Have that conversation after the race and figure it out going into the next race, but don't try to figure it out now. They're okay. They're dropping a rider here, but I don't think that's a problem. They've got 4 with a little more than 2K to go. Soldier on with the 4. The Italians here, they know what they're doing, Nathan. So we used the term panic earlier. That's your biggest enemy out in a team time trial event. You should never be in panic mode, and clearly they're not.
One thing I definitely would like to know as far as stats go, and I think we might be able to get an idea about it, is how many DSs are out there versus how many teams are out there. Because teams might be showing up without DSs. And, it'd be interesting for me to see on the stats, how well do teams perform that don't have a DS?
Listen, I don't know how many countries in the world would allow you to be your own lawyer, right? In America, you can. If you decide that you want to be your own lawyer, go for it. Well, that is a horrible, horrible idea. That no one should be their own lawyer. You also should not be your own director sportif. I get it. Sometimes there's no other way to make it happen, but a director sportif is a critical role. It's valued, and certainly if you have access to someone who's willing to help with that, please take advantage of it. You'll be very happy you did, because no one should be racing and directing in an ideal situation. Again, I'm not knocking you if you are. I understand sometimes you have to. I'm sure you've DS'd a few rides, Nathan, along the way, but wouldn't you rather have someone else who knows what they're doing take that role and let you race?
Yeah, once, so I ride with OTR once in a while, and once we got to a certain level, we were getting like top 10s in the WTRL TTT. The level got so high and the effort so high that speaking just was not an option any longer. When
it's not possible.
No,
it's not
it just
even
wasn't
like
even possible for me to say anything. So
you're that deep in the pain cave. You're not having a conversation. You're lucky to breathe.
No way. There's no way. And I would really like to get that stat. Is like, what is the comparison of performance? On average, how well do teams do across the board that have DSs versus those who don't? Because you can get those numbers, because if there's E-Pen riders, the E-Pen is where the DSs are.
E-Pen?
Right? Yeah. And so you can get, whether or not teams showed up. I'm just giving Martin more work now. He's looking at me. No, Nathan, I'm not giving you that. I've got enough going on right now. After I gave all the stats of how much data they're managing, kind of a thing. Team Italy, going to be the last ones, I think, out here. No, actually, it's going to be, what team is this? The Grifters? I think the Grifters are going to be the last team using the Trek kit.
Funny name. I would like to add that you can always go to WTRL's website to find incredible amounts of information and results. If you ever want to go back and catch up or see how things played out, that'll all be there for you at your fingertips. There's the arch, and this one is done and dusted.
Yeah, I do want to apologize to everybody today. It looks like we just have a little bit of background data problem happening on the day, so we're going to have to wait for any kind of results or splits or anything today when it comes to that. We'll be back, though, for America's East and West, and hopefully have some more for you. Dave, still, though, exciting opener out here today.
Yeah. We're back, baby. We are back. I can really feel it. Thank you, Martin. I know so much hard work goes on there behind the scenes to get this season underway, and we are rolling. A fantastic effort out here by over 10, well, not quite over 10,000 yet, as we've got a lot of riders still to race, as Nathan just said. But what a fun way to get things started. It wasn't easy getting back to the States, Nathan, from Belgium, all the COVID testing and everything. But I was so excited to be back and get racing underway. And here we go, folks. Good to be back with you.
So I just got a message from Rachel Elliott saying totally blind meant she had an eye operation a few weeks ago and now can't see anything but a color blob. So it sounds like a recovery is taking place. From what I saw there, it looked like a normal TTT for Rachel. So it didn't look like she was really struggling too much to produce some amazing power out there. Big shout out to Rachel Elliott from Socks for Watts and out there
what a
competing
champ.
still. And I want to just say thanks a lot for sticking with us, all the viewers. I did see lots of viewers still stuck it out with us without the data out there today, and obviously like to hear us chatter on about all the things that are happening with the racing. So Jabberwocking. We're jabberwocking out here with the monster and looking through the looking glass right now down the rabbit holes. I felt like Alice in Wonderland a little bit there, wondering what's going on. How do I get out of this and find the data? Okay, so next up we're gonna have America's East and America's West. It's gonna be me and Dave actually all night long. Kate's taking a week off actually. Something going on with the reality of lockdowns and COVIDs and things happening down in Australia. So safety to her, and as well as just getting things well so she can be back with us next week. And yeah, America's East, America's West are going to be some serious battles. Really looking forward to that on the men's and the women's side. I think some huge names actually showing up in those, so make sure to check those out later today. Head on over to WTRL.racing, of course, for the all of the results as they do start to come in, as they are getting figured out. And we'll see you later today for the America's East and America's West. As always, everybody, right on.